Okay, guys, so let's carry on with what we were talking about before. So, on day one, there was introduction. On day two, well, further introduction to the day one was introduction to the course, which is 4-in-1, and then day two, we then started with our AWS specific introduction. And so far, I've been putting those videos up on YouTube channel for everyone to see. And today's video would be the last video that I would be sharing with everyone. If anyone still wants to join, or any of your friends wants to join. So it does happen that from time to time, well, sometimes it's like a little late. Some people join, but they do. So let's get going with our rest of the so what we talked about before was some terminology here in AWS, Amazon Web Services Cloud, and I need to still put this whole the drawings and diagrams to the LMS, Learning Management System of ours, and I'll be putting that on WhatsApp group. So we have a class WhatsApp group. If you're not added there to the class WhatsApp group, then let me know. I'll add you. Otherwise, that's good. So there's that EC2. That's the terminology for AWS for virtual machine. So Elastic Compute Cloud, or EC2, is a virtual machine. EBS is Elastic Block Storage, which is just hard drive. Or storage. S3, Simple Storage Services, a folder where you can upload files and folders. RDS, Relational Database Services, databases, and VPC, Virtual Private Cloud, our private network in public cloud. Then we last time had discussed all this, comparing different cloud services there, so CSPs or cloud services providers. And from the previous video, you would have then known that we went inside the account, we talked about the billing, we talked about the data centers of AWS, then we talked about the region, the availability zones, and also points of presence, local zones. So we talked about all that, and why there are multiple availability zones here. So, and then the submarine cables we were talking about, that how continents are connected to each other through submarine cables, and overall that's how it's going to be. So region is the big physical area. Within that we have availability zones, multiple availability zones which are side by side with each other, or in sets, two nearby, and then the other two nearby, and the other two nearby. And then there are data centers within availability zone. So first comes regions, then comes availability zone, then comes the data center. And then there are points of presence. So we talked about those as well. But this hierarchy you need to always keep in mind that regions, availability zones, data centers, and that's the same with Microsoft Azure Cloud Services. That's the same for Google Cloud Services. They all have regions, availability zones, data centers. That's how hierarchy goes there. In fact, the naming also goes the same way for all cloud services providers. And then we went inside the IAM, which is, so we had introduction for all the categories of services that AWS provides to the corporate world, or small companies, medium companies, or large companies. And we have here, then we came here to the main first service that we should be going to, and that is authentication and authorization service. Obviously, you have to first always take care of and configure authentication and authorization service. So identity and access management is that area where you can create users, groups, roles, policies, identity providers, and it goes on and on. So we're going to be going through all these. So we're just going to log in now and continue with IAM, or identity and access management. Right? Okay, so I'll mute all. Okay. Okay, so yeah, Azaldine, just briefly review regions and availability zones. Okay, that was in second video as well. Okay. Uh, okay, guys. Yeah, about regions and availability zones. So region is a big area, like you can say here, Greater Toronto area, and well, not Greater Toronto area. It would be like Ontario size, or it could be Quebec province size, or full state could be. It's not according to the states or province sizes. It's just a big area beside a business hub, and then within that big region you will have multiple availability zones, and those availability zones will have data centers inside. So availability zones are just smaller physical areas there, and those smaller physical areas have then 2 to 8 data centers inside, and those data centers would be nearby, few kilometers apart, because they are offering active and passive services. So if you have a virtual machine on this data center that is active, its partner machine will be in this data center that is passive. So active machine, if this whole data center goes down, then the services on the active machine will fail over to the passive. Passive will become active machine on this data center, right? But if you have your virtual machine here, active virtual machine in one of the data centers here in this availability zone, and its partner machine is actually here on that availability zone. So in that case, you would, you can, if the availability zone goes down, then active machine in this availability zone fails over to the passive machine in this availability zone, right? And if you want to spend more money, you can have an active machine here and on this region, and you can even have okay, so you can have one active machine in this region, and there could be another region like West US. This is East US. Suppose you create a virtual machine, and in this region you created an active machine where all the end users are connecting, and here in another region, suppose you create a passive machine or partner machine or standby machine. So if the whole regional level outage occurs, the whole region is disconnected, then the active machine here, the services running on the active machine can actually fail over to the passive in another region. So that's cross-region replication. Azure recently started offering that too. We recently did this big lab well, I was teaching somewhere else in another college. There we were doing that lab of making a partner machine in another region. So we're going to do definitely that lab as well in Azure. We did that. So but you can have these separations, isolated data centers there. So if one data center goes down, your virtual machines will be failed over to the other data centers, or one availability zone goes down, which has 2 to 8 data centers. If the whole availability zone has an outage, you can fail over to the other availability zone, or you can have within one region a couple of machines and their standby machines in another region altogether. And if one region outage happens, then the second. Now, when it comes to stability, AWS is still the top in stability in terms of how much downtime was there for last few years. So you can check the video 2 where we went to those links as well, and we discussed in detail all those comparisons as well. But this is just the brief overview. We discussed in detail actually in video 2. So my recommendation is please do watch the whole video, and especially the class videos are good if you if you're not able to sleep at night and you want to sleep, and you start listening to the video, and then as soon as it starts in 5 minutes you will have a night's sleep. You will be snoring actually if you snore. Okay, so anyway, the thing is that please do watch the video to increase your knowledge, to ask further questions. So I'm just going to go ahead, and this review is just for the hierarchy we have. Now I'm going to go inside the IAM, or Identity and Access Management, and we're going to try to create our basic infrastructure. So once you join any company as an AWS expert or AWS resource, okay, thank you. So then you have to actually visit this one, IAM, first, right? So there are a lot of features here, or a lot of things that we need to know. Some of the labs we're going to do, and some of the labs we won't be able to do. So I'll explain those with links. So right now, let's go to AWS. Let's log in to AWS, and then connect to IAM, or Identity and Access Management. So that's the same. Well, IAM is also used in Azure. IAM is also used in Google Cloud. But IAM is yeah. So IAM is going to be the main area where you configure users, groups, roles, permissions, and authentication. So there's a question in WhatsApp that can I find your YouTube channel in your website? Well, I gave those two links there for the videos to everyone. So hopefully that everyone got it. So otherwise, I'll just put that there. So you could just go to the class link there and just watch the previous two videos. There are some people who just got connected, or there's some new people who are joining today, and so that's why, guys, just a little patience. I'm just gonna put that link here for the playlist, and so I'll just drag this channel here. So it's just Amir's Online IT School, and here you can just check out your course, which is this Cloud 4-in-1 class 17 June, right? So in the playlist you would see this. So I'm just gonna go to the view playlist here, and then I'll just put that playlist link in WhatsApp. So now from this, because I'm going to be updating all the sessions and any videos, interesting videos, I'm going to start putting up here. Other than the class videos I'm going to put up here as well, and in the LMS as well. So here's that playlist in the chat, WebEx chat, and there it is in exactly. So in the WhatsApp group. So this playlist, please save it somewhere, because all the future class videos will be coming here as well. Okay. Oh, okay. So Nargis, I'll be adding you, sure, in the break. Just please do remind me. Okay. And anyone else who's not added to the group, please let me know. So in the break, I'll be doing that. Okay, guys. So let's get going with our lab. Okay. So I do echoes as well. It has to be fun, right? We should joke and Okay. So here, AWS and aws.amazon.com. Those who are joining today, my recommendation is to go through those two videos, and hopefully you've created the accounts. We've gone through that. So today, if it's all new to you, or you don't have slight previous experience, then better sit back, enjoy the show today, and catch up with us before the next class. And during the week also, you can contact me, or in the WhatsApp group you can just say, hey guys, I'm here, what to do here, or I'm stuck here, what to do here. So I'm just going to log in from this and the AWS free tier. Hopefully my account is still free tier. Okay, so I have MFA here because that's mucho importante. It's really, really important that you should have MFA. Anyone else has an MFA right now? We haven't configured it, that's why. Okay, so it's 548.390. 548.390. Last time I also had that issue. Okay, new numbers are here: 223.213, 223.213. What kind of what password did I put last time? So 223. Seriously, in every class I'm gonna do that? Okay. I think every class I'm doing that. Sorry guys, I'll be grabbing my password again.
Hi, Amir. Sorry, I have a question. This is the free account for the Amazon, right?
Yes, exactly. So let me just go for. I put a password there. I think I remember. And the code 011582. Okay, only this class is happening. This is the same account I'm using in other class, and I don't know what's going on. So maybe some I am under the spell somewhere, and it's happening. So guys, I'm just gonna reveal my password now. So look somewhere else now. Look up, bird. Okay, so I'll just grab this. Seriously, really can't believe myself. This is happening again. So last class it happened actually. So I'll just go to my passwords, AWS passwords. What's the portal.aws.com? Portal.aws sign in. Yeah, this one. Now what's my password? Okay. Yeah, that's what I gave. Okay, so I'll just put that again. Password. I was about to say that, but God. And I'll put that. Whew, thank God. All right. So finally, inside, there are multiple accounts in my MFA as well. So it's the second one. I need to just get rid of the first one then. And okay, there you go. So it's the second. So now confusion is over. Okay, guys. Once we're inside, then let's go ahead and thank you. Yeah, clear cookies. Okay, I'm actually eating cookies right now. So yeah. Okay, guys. Here, once we're inside AWS, so our first favorite thing would be that we would go on the top right here. I'm gonna go for this My Billing dashboard, right? Just to click and check it out. That's it. If we click the My Billing dashboard on the top right here, and the 00 written here would be our favorite number, right? So, but they are just predicting that it would be 0.02 cents. So I would really want to know in that case that what was I charged for. So keep an eye on this billing dashboard whenever you're connecting, and we're going to be creating a billing alert as well. But that's the first stop. And second stop is which region are you connected to right now? That should be the second stop. Now, billing area does not need a region. The service that we're about to use, which is IAM, also does not need any region. There are also global services because billing will be coming for any region here. But if you're creating a virtual machine or virtual private cloud, which is your private network in public cloud, or databases you're creating, so then you need to actually choose a region at that time. And yes, for the class, please remember throughout the AWS course, we're going to only connect to US East North Virginia. Why not Canada? There's a Canada Central here, this one. We're only going to connect to US East North Virginia. Why? Anyone knows why? Actually, did I mention that reason before? Why will we be only connecting to US East North Virginia? Anyone knows that already? Exactly, that's the answer. No. So the reason is that why are we not connected to core region?
Because we have so many regions in this area, that's why.
So because it's regional, well, one reason. The second is core region. Then there are many regions. You're saying main first, and then Mohammed Jaffer is saying because this region always get the first update. Wow, I didn't know that there could be so many reasons for that. Oh, and yeah, it's cheap. That's another reason. It contains most of the services. Oh man, Azaldine, you nailed it, man. It contains many services. So suppose I start doing a big lab, right? A load balancing lab or some other lab, and I connect to North Virginia, and you connect to Canada Central. So you will be missing some of the services there, right? So it has the most availability zones, 6 availability zones. US East Ohio has 3 availability zones. US West 3 availability zones. So it is the biggest region. But the main thing why we're connecting, we will always be connecting throughout the course of this because all the advanced features are here. All the advanced features are here. It is nearest. Well, nearest when we talk about nearest. So Canada Central is nearest to us, Usman. So Canada Central is news. Azaldine, you're talking privately, so you can just check that. You can just click everyone instead of privately, right, Azaldine? Okay, so guys, when we say nearest, so if I just go to Google Maps here, and in Google Maps, you can see actually Canada. I need to show the Canada and US. Yeah, so here, that's a US border here. This is US border, and we're sitting here, and this is the US border going on, right? So this area here is yeah, Virginia, right? So West Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York. Hey, where's North Virginia written here? I think it's written in front of me. I just can't see. Oh yeah, there's North Carolina actually. North Virginia is this, right? And Ohio is this. So there are two regions. One is Ohio, one is Virginia, West Virginia. So North Virginia would be obviously this area, right? Anyone seeing here North Virginia written somewhere? How come I not see that? Yeah, Virginia. So we're actually away, right? So that's Pennsylvania. So there is a Canada Central region here, but we are connecting all the way to North Virginia here, Ohio region. These are the two regions here, Ohio and Virginia, and see how far they are, right? So, well, compared to the Canada Central that we are at, right? So if I go back here, so East US, North Virginia, we're connecting to that for the sole reason it's the nearest which has all the services. That would be my reason. It's the nearest which has all the services, right? Otherwise, Canada Central would be okay. Let's go ahead then, guys, and it contains most of yeah. So now, guys, right now it's going to be, first of all, billing is global service, so it is not connected to any region. Second thing is, let's go to services here, this one, right? So click this services, and then we go down to this guy, IAM. If you have visited those services before, then it's going to show up in the left side in the history as well. Maybe you're all seeing IAM right now, right? Or if you know the name but you can't find it in the category, or you don't have the time, you can just type the exact correct name or some part of that name. That's going to come in the search, and you can just connect that. Okay, so now let's just click that IAM here, or Identity and Access Management, right? And here, I think, in my case, all are green, but in your case, one would be green and others would be orange. So don't worry about that, because I've configured everything this for another class. So I'll be, when I go to each services, I'm going to be deleting that. So guys, first of all, what we did in the last class, maybe you remember. So and yeah, one more suggestion here is that you should watch the last class video before connecting to the next class, right? So then you are up to date with what was going on, where we were, and what we already discussed for the topic. If it's a continuing topic, this is a continuing topic, right? So not topping, it's topic. Yeah, I just said topping. Maybe I'm hungry. So anyway, we gave this name, right? So what we did was we just clicked the customize option here. Well, it's asking you to delete, but if you haven't configured it and there's a random number here, you can click this customize here and then just put your first name, the date, today's date maybe, and some unique thing like samosa. My favorite is samosa actually, or sambosa. Okay, anyway, so once that is given, what is this? This is the IAM users link. We are about to create 2 or 3 users now, and this is the link our employees will use to log into this particular subscription of AWS, right? So if this is the most crucial link here that our users will need, right? So we've created that link. Now let's go to users, because we're going to go through these as well. Obviously, we're going to do that too. But let's go on the left side. There's a users here, right? It's not right. It's left. Yeah. So there's a user here. Instead of saying right, I should say left. Okay, users. And then once we click users, so ignore what I have here, and I'll just quickly delete those. Okay, so this is how your screen should look like, and let's click that add user. So suppose we have employees in our company, and some of those need access there. Normally it would be some kind of specialist who would need access. Suppose it's a database expert who need access just to databases. Suppose it's a programmer or developer who needs access to some services, or suppose it's some machine learning services that somebody needs. So end users who are clicking, or non-technical users might, you won't be creating those accounts here. So it would be normally your own developers and database experts. Okay, so I'm just gonna click that add user here, this one. Hopefully everyone's doing that. So let's click that add user, and then go for a name here, username, and then you can just put your first name 01. So if I put Amir here, which is my first name, so you should put your first name, not my first name. So go ahead and put your first name here, and we can actually create multiple users in one go, or we can create one user in one go. So I'm going to click that, add another user here, just to, okay, so Ali's saying, sorry, one more time, repeat. Come on, Ali. So Ali, please do not watch the CP24, or maybe there's a football match going on. So okay, here, okay, just kidding. So here on the left you can see users. No problemo. So here you can see users. Where are you, Ali? So services, and then IAM, and this is IAM, and then I'm in users, and then I'm clicking add users. So hopefully you got it. Okay, cool. So add user, and then I'm just putting your first name 01, and then I'm clicking the add another user, and your first name 02. Yay. Okay, no, we just started it. We didn't do anything yet, so no yay for now. So here, once you create those, now what are those two options here? Programmatic access and AWS Management Console access. So programmatic access is, well, it says here, enables an access key ID and secret access key for the AWS API, which is Application Programming Interface, which is a small application that connects to some bigger outside the organization application, and connects that big application to some of the services here. So a small application, which is a middleman kind of thing, that connects some other big application to your services in AWS. Also, there's CLI, command line interface, there's SDK, and that is for developers, where you can have software development kit, right? Software development kit and other development tools. So what it means in English right now is that if you have a software here, so suppose you're connecting from a command line interface, or you're connecting from a software like Visual Studio. Anyone ever worked on Visual Studio? Maybe you've heard about it, right? So Visual Studio. Anyone developer here? Anyone worked on Visual Studio before? No one, right? So yeah, Visual Studio here, and not a dev. Bit worked on it. Okay, so Wakas says Bit worked on it. Okay, cool. Hey, you have yeah, you're a programmer then. Okay, good. So, are you guys here? Suppose you want to connect to AWS from a CLI. Now that's not a console access, obviously. When we talk about AWS Management Console Access, that's what we're doing right now. You go to a browser, you put your username, password, and you log in. That's called AWS Management Console Access, right? But if you're connecting from third-party applications, or if you're connecting from CLI, command line interface, then you will have to have programmatic access. So in simple words, if you want to play with the words here, programmatic access just means that access from a program is called programmatic access. So CLI is a program from which you can access AWS, any of the services, and Visual Studio is a program. What we will actually do, we will actually install a Cloudberry when we go to the storage. So that Cloudberry application, at that time I'm going to ask you Cloudberry Explorer. This is the application I'm going to ask you to download, and then we're going to connect this application. We're going to connect from this application to AWS storage. At that time, you need then access key ID and secret access key. These are the two randomly generated keys there that will be given to you, and when you put those keys, then AWS will know that it's you, because AWS created those keys and you're using those to connect from an application to AWS, right? So programmatic access just means that if any user says, hey, I'm not going to be connecting through browser, or I will be connecting through browser, but I will also be connected through, since I'm a developer or since I'm a database expert, so I'm going to be connecting to AWS through another software as well. So please give me not only the console access, but also give me programmatic access so I can connect to AWS from our program, right? So that's the purpose of or the meaning of programmatic access. So I'll put it in day 3 today. And okay, so I'm just going to select that and select this one as well. Whether we need it or not, let's just go ahead and select that. But hopefully we understand what we just talked about. So Ali says in chat, whoever work e.g. with API need to be in programmatic or programmatic. Give user difference face in connection. Yeah, whoever's using API would need that. So any small utility you're connecting from to AWS, or any small program or a big program, yes, in that case you need programmatic access. Suppose you're just connecting the application, but you're you're connecting the application, but you're not connecting through the application. So they are different things, right? So you're connecting actually from AWS Management Console, but you connected separately the application itself to AWS. So in that case, you don't need, your user account does not need a programmatic access, because you connected application directly to a, you're not connecting through this application to the AWS, right? So yes, if you're using API and you're not the one who needs authorization through that API, then no, you don't need programmatic access. Okay, so here, if we go down further, there's that auto-generated password, or we can actually go for custom password here, right? So, well, it's up to you. But for now, in production environment, I would have given auto-generated password, and I would have pressed this, or I've checked this option as well. Users must create a new password and next login. We always do that when we create a password for someone else, right? And or there is custom password here. Okay, so Ali says, I have CRM AWS means service AWS means I need programmatic access. So if you have a CRM, then you, if you're logged in first to CRM and then you connect to AWS through CRM or from CRM, yes, you need programmatic access for that. So if you log in from CRM, yeah, you need programmatic access. So here, guys, let's go for custom password, and there's a class password that I would recommend that you go for. Otherwise, if you forget the password, then good luck. And there are no hacker services available here or cracker services available here. So the class password right now is. So here, what we see here is that the class password will be small ABC, capital ABC, shift123, and without shift123. Now, I would suggest that you give this password to everyone, everywhere. Everyone, seriously, did I say everyone? Okay, so yeah, everywhere wherever the password is required, or give any other password, but don't forget it. Otherwise, you're locked out and there's no one to help. Okay. Yes. So give this password, but yes, select programmatic access. Oh yeah, this was a picture. This picture did not have that. So yeah, I took a picture when it was not selected, but I actually, this is the actual scene. Okay, so yeah, we have selected already. Okay, it says, but just for RDP machine. Just for the RDP machine. We are connecting to RDP machine. We don't need programmatic access for that, Ali. So, so here, if we are talking about programmatic access, so suppose you have created a virtual machine here, right? VM, which is also called EC2 instance. So let's stick to the terminology here. EC2 instance, which is actually a VM, right? So, and that's inside AWS here. So when you're connecting through your laptop and RDP connection here, so you can connect through RDP, and the port is 3389. I'll be asking you a lot of ports, guys, so you should be familiar with all the major or mostly used ports there. So RDP, when you do that, you don't need a programmatic access for that, because whenever you need programmatic access, you will be given access key ID and secret key access key, right? So I'm going to give you an example of that when we come to the storage, that when we install Cloudberry, then you would actually use that as well, and then you will realize that, oh, that's a programmatic access. So we're going to do that lab. That's an upcoming lab, right? But for 3389 machine, no, you don't need programmatic access. You just need to create that machine. We're going to be creating that EC2 instance, and then you're going to see all that. But if you uncheck that and you want the user, this user's credentials to be used when you're connecting, yes, you can still connect without giving this. If you give this, so it will use access ID and secret access key, and that is placed inside a application, a program that connects directly to AWS. So we will not use that for connecting to virtual machine. Okay. Okay, so Vikas is saying in chat, if we are connecting remotely to AWS platform, we use programmatic access using an application. Exactly. If through an application you're connecting to AWS, you need programmatic access. Okay, let me just show one application. I think I already have Cloudberry. Guys, you don't have that, so you don't need to install now, because this question has to be clarified. So I have an application that helps me connect to AWS storage, which is called S3, right? So this application is called Cloudberry Explorer for Amazon S3, freeware, right? So later when we come to storage, you will all be installing this, the Explorer one. Don't install the backup one if you're installing now. So I'm going to go to File and New Amazon S3 account. So I need to connect from within this Explorer application called Cloudberry Explorer, which is like a file explorer, folder explorer, right? You transfer, this is my computer on the right side, this is Amazon S3 on the left side, right? So I can drag any file from here to there, it uploads to Amazon. So this is called programmatic access, that within the application you need to put access key, see this, access key and secret key. So because this program needs to you want to connect through this program to S3 bucket or the storage. So in this program you need to put access key and secret access key. Once you put that, that's it, you're connected. And you can also create an account, that's an optional thing. So not only that you put username, password, but you have to put the program, for the program to access AWS, you need to put access key and secret key. So if I need to connect to S3 storage through this application, I need to put access key and secret access key. So this is called programmatic access, right? So Visual Studio will also have that. Visual Studio wants to connect to S3 to upload some software or to upload some files. You need to grab secret access key and secret access key for that program. But if you want to log in yourself from console, we just logged in. We all logged in from the console. We just had to put username, password. That's all, right? So that's that access. And programmatic access is that what I showed you, right? Hopefully now it may be clear. So let us go ahead. Let us answer it. No, let us. So let us here, and small ABC, capital ABC, shift 123, and without shift 123 here. I'm just going to put that password here, and I'm going to show that password. So this is the password that I put here. If you have put in some password, well, some other password, just don't forget it. That's all, right? Okay, so users must create a new password at next sign in. Now, I don't want that, so I'm just going to uncheck this, right? But in production environment, you should check it. Well, that's what we need to know. So I hope you understand this page, options there. Then let's go for next permission. So Usman in chat says, so in simple programmatic access is only for third-party apps. Yes, exactly. Exactly, Usman, you said it. So I opened a third-party app. Well, is there any Amazon app? So yeah, CLI. So you have to download CLI from Amazon, CLI files from Amazon, and when you're connecting to CLI, you still need access key ID and secret access key. So any app that is when you're not connecting from browser and you're connecting from anywhere else, CLI, yes. Third-party apps, definitely. Even the Amazon app, you have to put programmatic access for that user. So now there's a question here. Abbas says, can we use WinSCP for programmatic access? So yeah, Abbas, any kind of program that is first compatible to AWS, that's the first thing, that it gives you actually access to AWS from within the application. That's first need to be checked. Second thing is it asking these two? If it is compatible, this is the only way the application will let you connect to any service if it is programmed to do so. But if you're remotely connecting to any virtual machine in AWS, then that is not programmatic access. You just need to connect to a virtual machine, whatever operating system, however the operating system in that virtual machine allows you. Suppose it's Windows machine, so you can connect through RDP, and suppose it's a Linux machine, you can connect through SSH, right? And WinSCP, is that for PowerShell or OS? Or is it for RDP? Or for, yeah, just remote command line. So for that, your when you say WinSCP, so it has to be for the Windows. So this means you're connecting to the operating system that is inside a virtual machine that is placed on top of an AWS, right? So that has nothing to do with programmatic access, right? Okay, so here, now, if you have put in that password here, then we can just simply, just see all the options here. I uncheck this one and I click this one, current password, custom password, and then this, and let's click permissions. Okay. So once we go to the permissions here, that's a lot of goodies here as well. First thing is, hey, you want to add it to a group? Well, we don't have any group, but if you want to add it to a group, then you can if you want. So other thing is, well, we're going to be creating groups later, and if you see that group right now, that is, just ignore that, because we're going to create a group later as well. So then second thing is, so for now we don't have a group, so we're not adding anything, or we can create a group now and we can add the user. So second thing is copy permissions from existing user. We don't have any existing user that has been given, allotted already a set of permissions. So then attach existing policies directly. Oh, what is that? So we have a terminology called permissions, and then we have a terminology called policies. So what's the difference between permissions and policies, right? So let's click that. So these two don't apply to us for now, right? But we're going to go for the third one, attach existing policies directly. Let's click that. So what is that? So policy is, it's a collection of permissions. So policy is a collection of permissions. So this is something that you need to remember. Policies. Oops. Why do I have to delete that? Okay. Policies. Policy is a collection. Of permissions, right? So you get read permission, list permission, or you have read, write, delete, create permissions there. You put them in the policy and attach that policy to a user or a group. So we can collect a set of policies, set of permissions, and put them into a new policy, and then attach this policy to a user or a group, right? So then there are roles coming. We're going to talk about that too, but for now we need to understand. There are. So Mohammed Jafri says, is it predefined permission? Yeah. So permissions, exactly. These are predefined, and we're going to be defining custom permissions. So we're going to be defining ourselves as well, but these are predefined. Yes, you're right, Mohammed Jafri. Ali says here in chat, in AD Windows we have service account user. AWS has the same service account. Well, if any service needs a user account, then in the documentation of that service, suppose there's a Lambda service, right? So a Lambda service, if in the documentation that, hey, when you put a code, please create a user account first in IAM, and then come to me and then configure Lambda, right? So if it's in the documentation, then you create an account that you give to service. So otherwise, no, they normally have some accounts already working in the background. So unless if they're in the documentation, then Wakas says in the chat, can we call it set of rules as well? Yes, exactly. That's a rule that, hey, you can only read, but hey, other one, you can actually write, delete, create. So yes, it's a rule. So you allow someone, you don't allow someone. You allow someone certain level of access, you allow others certain more level of accesses. So that's what we're talking about. Okay, so and let's go back to this. So attach existing policies directly. So administered access. Okay, there's a here from WhatsApp, and yeah. Okay, so okay, let me just. Okay, so administered access. We have administered access here. So then we have Alexa for business device setup, but you can see on the top right, 569 policies. Well, obviously you have 200 plus services here, so you would have different levels of policies here just for Alexa, which is voice activation service that you see there. So there are different levels of permissions or inside a policy. So you have created different policy: full access, gateway access, delegated access, read-only access, just for one service, then the second service, then the third service, then the fourth, and up to 200 plus services. It keeps on going. If you keep going down, it just keeps on going down, 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 down. So we understand that, okay, so for all the different 200 plus services in AWS, these one, right, this one, all these services, for them, there are different access levels, which are defined in these policies here, right? So you want to give Alexa, there's a developer, Alexa developer, and he or she wants to have full access, so you can give Alexa for business full access. There's another developer who is an outsider contractor, and you don't want to give that person, he or she, full access initially, so you can give him or her read-only access, right? So, well, that's one thing, right? So second thing is, let's click that arrow here, this one, arrow, administrator access, right? So if you click that arrow here, then you can see that there is that policy summary or written here, right? Oh, actually in JSON, it is showing that in JSON. Jason is my neighbor. He's a very nice guy, and we do we play lawn tennis together. So I'm not talking. It's not this JSON is not that JSON, right? So that is that you can write code in a way that humans can understand, right? Humans can understand. So here, allow, effect is allow, action is asterisk, which means all kinds of actions are allowed. Resource is asterisk again, which means all kind of resources, virtual machine or VPC, networking or storage or databases or machine learning or whatever. So you have access to everything because we're talking about administrative access here. So this is the top policy here. Anyone added to this policy will be able to do anything, right? That's the top account. Just like in Windows, there's an administrator account in Active Directory, that is the top account. And then there is, in Linux, there's a root account that is the top account. So here also. So we just get that, okay, so they are actually giving a detail of what is allowed there. If you go for Alexa for business device setup, if I expand that, then in JSON format, now it is saying that within Alexa service, what is allowed, what is not allowed. You can search, you can complete registration, you can register devices as well. Alexa is a voice activation, so you would go for devices there. So Ali says code for new rule or developing existing rule. Yes. Code for new rule or developing existing rule. Can you elaborate that statement? What is the exact question? So, but this is the code that is for that is the number of accesses you have, right? What type of access you have, what services within the Alexa you can use, what services you cannot use. That's inside the code right now. But we can develop it for future as well, yes. Okay, guys, so I'm just going to collapse that now. This arrow here that explains that what exactly you can do and what exactly you cannot do. Well, actually, whatever is not written there is not, you can do, but what is written, if you understand that, it's pretty much you can do everything, because also you know that it's an administrator access, right? So if we go for a collapse here, so now you can see that, okay, we can just attach any policy here to this user. Actually, two users we are creating here, right? So do you want to give both users something, some access? So yeah, we're gonna actually deal with it later. So administrator access here, and right now let's not give any access, because later I'll be asking you to do that, and then I'll see that can you figure that out, because it's, you know, giving a policy to a user is should not be a big deal. So for now we're not selecting anything here, so those users pretty much have no access to anything. So if we go further down here, there is set permissions boundary here, and if we select that set permissions boundary, so set a permissions boundary to control the maximum permissions this user can have. This is an advanced feature used to delegate permission management to others. So set a permissions boundary to control the maximum permissions this user can have. So how much permission you want to give. So this is an advanced feature used to delegate permission management. So this is permission management to others. So suppose you want these two users to have permissions only for any resource in US East, North Virginia, but not in Ohio, and not in US West, North California, or Cape Town here. So it could be you're setting up some boundaries there, right? So this is your jurisdiction, this is your area of control, and further you cannot have any kind of permissions given or not given. So if I click that, user permissions boundary to control maximum user permissions. So these are select policy to set the permissions boundary, and that is if you put that policy there, then this user is just given that much, and this user can further give to anyone only within this service. Suppose this user wants to give another user some permission, so this is the boundary. Suppose I select okay, you have this permission here, then again when I come there I will select more policies for you as well. For now we can select one, but you can just put a boundary here that what you can give to other users is within this. Whatever policies are there defined within these policies, you can give further, but you cannot give more than that to any other user. So you have a boundary here, and you're just having just this much permission here to give it to others as well. So create user without permissions boundary would be that if that user has been given administrator access or any access, full access to Alexa for business, so within that the user still have permissions to give any other user, delegate any other user with some lower permissions while staying within this boundary, if we have given this boundary. But right now permissions without boundary is yes, yeah, if we give you full access, you can give others also whatever access you want to give. There are questions here. We cannot modify the codes, I guess. Oh, okay. So Usman Shabir says we cannot modify the codes, I guess. Oh, that's what that statement might mean. So yeah, we cannot modify that code. You're right. Actually, we can create a custom code, which I am about to show you. That's an upcoming lab. Fad says here in the chat, if we create our own policy, can we change the version to date or codes? Or does it really matter to add the version? No, it's not compulsory to add a version, and we can create our own code as well. But I'm going to show you how to create a custom policy. And then Fahad is saying, does it matter if we add the version or not? No, it does not matter. So Anali says, for each service AWS will charge us. Well, AWS will not charge if you create users here, because they're not using underlying hardware. But if you are using virtual machine, it's using underlying hardware. You're using networking, you're using databases, you're using machine learning, you're using development code for Lambda. So yes, they're going to charge for that. But for users, no, they don't charge. Groups, they don't charge. So yeah, there are very few services that they won't charge, but majority they will. Well, otherwise they will have to close all their services if they don't. Okay. So okay. Sorry, I am teaching Cloud 4 in one class right now. Sorry guys, I just put a message somewhere. So okay, I'm back. So here we just put create user without a boundary. We're just gonna keep it selected and click next tags. So once we click next tags here, so these are the tags that we can give here. Suppose this is department. We're just understanding once that what are tags for. So suppose I put key as department, the value would be suppose it's marketing, right? And then tab, then branch, key as a branch, and value is Toronto. So and then key manager, and that is Trump, right? So and then be ready to quit. Okay, so whatever you want to put there, that's it, right? Okay guys, but this is the tags. Let's click review here, then click next and review, right? So we just need to understand, okay, that's tags. Once we click review here, so it says here, hey, how did you, okay, so there's that, it says, is that sensitive? Yes, it is very sensitive. If you scream on these guys, their feelings will be hurt. They're sensitive. No, just kidding. So yeah, it's not case sensitive. No. So let's click review, and then there is guys, there one rule that we should all follow, and I explained that before as well, and that's Einstein rule, right? Einstein rule, and I know the Einstein spelling I always make. I think some of us know that. So EINSTEIN. Okay, wow. Rule that, and that's a very difficult English. If I at not at clicketh, I at not at clicketh. So that's Shakespearean English, right? If I not click, then you at not at clicketh, right? So that's in English it means that if I don't click, you don't click, right? If I don't click, then you don't click, right? So that's the hey, you know that rule. So okay, so no, we did not give admin access, and guys, do not assume anything here. And that's the rule in Einstein age. Maybe they were also Shakespearean. So if I at not at clicketh, you at not at clicketh, right? So so don't assume anything. Don't go ahead of me. If you do go ahead of me, and it will take long time to be where I am now, or in terms of configuration, then sit back and enjoy the show and join us with the next lab. But the thing is that do not assume anything, right? We can go customize anytime, anywhere. I'm gonna give you the reason why. So whenever I do customize, right? And so we need to explore all the features. Do not assume. Do not click, and create, because I'll tell you reason for all those, all what I'm doing. So you have to be patient set. Okay, I'll have to practice that. So anyway, this user has no permissions. It's saying that. So we're saying yeah, whatever. So like we didn't give that permission, but we should have, right? So it would have been a programmer, a database a guy, or some other expert of any of the AWS services, but we didn't give any permission, but we can give it later as well. So once we, this is just a review, and let's click create user once, but don't go to the finish line. So Wakas says here that key tags and their values are the attributes. Well, so yes, we can say part of the attribute. So this would help you search this item. Suppose there were thousands of users there, so you want to search those users or filter those users which belong to this branch, this department, and this manager, under this manager. So yeah, they are attributes of users, we can say, but basically you put tags there, and you can use those tags in many other places as well, like in some policies. Hey, put the policy on that, so give full access or read-only access to only those users whose tags are showing manager as Trump, right? So give them read access, or actually just kick them out of the firm anyway. Okay, anyway, so the thing is that we can say that because we can use those attributes in different searches and different queries as well. So Wakas says user is not going to have any other tags other than the one we described here. No, we can put other tags later as well. or we can change them as well. All right. Okay. So here, let's click that create users. Once we click once create users, so just keep it once, don't close this page here. And here you can see that download.csv, this is the file here. And you can see that there's, because we gave users programmatic access, so access key ID and secret access key is also shown here. But if I just before we do anything, click that download.csv, because any one of you who had clicked this close, because our right hand, when it sees finish or close, our right hand tries to go there and click that, and if we don't click that, I mean, something will happen to us, right? So we will be consumed by something, or we will evaporate or something like that. So people tend to just, oh, close, click, at once click, right? Oh, finish, click. I mean, so don't do that, right? Try to just stay where I am, because I need to explain. If you close that without downloading this, then you have to create a new access key and secret access key later. This access key is just here only now, or if you have downloaded the CSV here, right? Oh, okay. So Ali already did that. So Ali, this means you haven't read Shakespearean English yet, because I specifically mentioned it in Shakespearean English. If I know clicketh, you know clicketh, right? But no, you're watching CP24 and football match, right? So okay. By the way, who won? So Usman says, why I'm not getting this warning of user? Maybe Usman, you checked one of the permissions. You may have clicked the administered access or Alexa access. So that's why you're not getting. You didn't? So you can go back. No, you can. If you're on this page, you can't go back, but yeah, we can check it out later as well. Oh, okay. Well, if you didn't give the warning, then, well, by mistake, Oh, you can, if you can go back, you can check and uncheck if suppose by mistake something is checked. But this warning only comes if we didn't check anything. If you've given a permission, then yeah, it will not show this. Well, double check, otherwise, yes, it's acting weird, and still come here then, and we'll investigate once the users are created, right? Okay. Oh, I verified. Okay, so you did verify again. Nothing there. That's strange. It should come, but it's not coming. Still, let's go ahead, and we can investigate after users are created. So guys, go ahead and download that .csv file. Go ahead and download this. This is very crucial. This is important that you download that .csv file, right? I'm going to download that and new user credentials.csv and save it. I'm saving it in downloads folder. So guys, one more thing, save it in downloads folder. Is it compulsory? No, it's not. But some user, very, very few user who are then searching, where did I download in my computer? So that's really, in this age and time, this kind of query is what can I say? So please click the downloads on the left side, and then click this, so you can save it, and you would know that you clicked in the downloads folder, right? It's not compulsory to save there, but just to avoid that question, hey, I don't know where did I save it. So okay, anyway, so let's click save, and then you can just also expand this. You can expand this, and it says created user, and well, not much here. If you click the show button here, so it just shows you the secret access key as well, right? So programmatic access only requires that. Browser access does not require that. So we just wanted to learn programmatic access. That's why we give it. Otherwise, we really didn't know. Okay, so I'm just gonna click close now, right? You could have emailed it to yourself as well, right? So I'm gonna click close now, right? Go ahead and close. So now, guys, the CSV file that we downloaded, right? Open that CSV file. Open that CSV file, and I'll drag this file in front of you, right? So now a quick task for every one of you. If it is done, then type done in the chat. If it is not done, don't type done in the chat. So the task here is that task means that you have to do it now within 2 to 5 minutes. So task 1, do it now within 2 to 5 minutes, right? So log in from your first name 01. Now, if you don't want yourself to be logged out, we can use in Chrome. If you're in Chrome, then top right option called incognito. So if you don't want your current user to be logged out, if you don't want that, then go incognito and then try to log in from your first name 01. That's it, right? Oops. Or control plus shift plus N. Thank you, Awaz, for that. Ashraf is done already. Awaz is done already. Muhammad Jafri is done already. Mukas, hey guys, what are you doing here in this course? So, you know everything, right? Like you're done, right? Like done, like DONE done, right? So the done that spells as DONE, that one, right? Alright guys, so that's good. Okay, in this page, what did you use? Did you use anything in this page? Can anyone tell me that quickly? Okay, Snark is done as well. So in this page, what did you use? Can you name that? Did you use anything in this page? And did you log in from your first name 01 here? Obviously you do. Ali's done. Okay. There you go. Console link. You must have all used the console link, right? Yes. Okay, thank you for that reply. So I'm gonna just do that because there were so many dones here and so many others haven't mentioned that. Hey, why that? So that's not fair, right? Okay, there you go. And then username password. So did you use the console link there? Hey, nobody else said that other than Ali. So okay, anyway, I'm just gonna Control C here, and then I'll just go to that browser here, and because I don't want to log out from this root user here or compliance user, or actually subscription user, so I'm going to go to that three dots here on the top right, three dots on the top right. I'm going to click that, and there's a new incognito window. Either you can use another browser, other browser, which means Internet Explorer or Edge or Firefox or Netscape Navigator. Wow, memories. I'm just crying now. And if you were using Netscape Navigator, then yeah, you should be in this stage. 70 plus. No, just kidding. So new incognito window here. I'm just gonna click that and then go for, I'll paste this console here, and then I can only log in. So you have to, so any of the users you create, you just have to use the console link, otherwise you cannot log in, right? So I'm just gonna go there, and well, actually the password I know already because the password is not actually mentioned there. So I'll just go here and your first name 01, and then the password small ABC WC shift 123 without shift 123. Enter. Okay, so we're good, and well, that's yeah, that's how we connect. No big deal, right? Okay, so guys, are we all still logged in to your first name 01? So I do see here launch virtual machine here, right? Launch virtual machine. Can connect to any region. Yeah, well, yes, user can connect to a region. If I click that, it should be, unless we have given that. You can control whether users in your AWS account can access resources in this region. When you enable access, AWS platforms actions to prepare your account in that region, such as distributing your IAM resources to the region. You can use, so if I click that continue here, so then it says you need permissions. You don't have permission to access billing information for this account. Contact your AWS administrator if you need it. So for other regions, it is actually telling me say that saying that. So billing does not require region access. So I did not click billing, but it does say that this account allows IAM and federated users to access billing information. You have the required IAM permissions. So definitely you have to have some kind of permissions to actually go to other. So I went to another. I wanted to go to virtual machines here, but it did not let me. Continue to the account page and enable this region if you are an administrator for this account or user with permissions to enable access to the region. If you're unsure whether you have the correct permissions, contact your administrator. Enabling a region is free, but your users might create or use resources that result in AWS fees. So you just have to enable that. So Mohammed Jafri is saying why it's showing Virginia or Ohio. It is showing Ohio for me as well, but it's not letting you use that, right? So if I just go back here, so I want to actually, I'm in Ohio on the top right here, but if I go down here, so I want to use launch virtual machine. So it's letting, is it letting you do that? Is it letting you create a virtual machine? So this means I click the billing directly. That's why it was giving me error. I was wondering actually, did they change that permission? Because you are able to actually use any of the regions you're supposed to, unless you go to that service of billing. So yes, I can actually launch a virtual machine from that user who has no permission. When I go to select, it says you are not authorized to perform this operation. So you need further permissions. You can enter a service, but then you need further permissions to actually create a virtual machine or EC2 instance, right? So at the start, it was a bump here that, hey, you need permissions. You're not authorized to perform this operation. So if I try another thing, because I didn't give any permission, why should it? So, but connect to another region, yes. Build using virtual server. So if I just go to some other random service, I'm just going random, right? Storage. There's a storage here, right? Oh, well, that's learn to build storage. Or I go to services, and there I'm just going to storage just to check, right? And access denied. No. So it will show all the regions for every user. It's just that we don't have access to any services, right? Okay, so Wakas says, where did the question start from? So the user can connect to any region. Yes, that's one thing. By default, yes. Azeldin says yes. Okay. Wakas says, I mean, it's showing me in Ohio, which is okay. When I logged in first time. And then Mohammed Jafri says, why it's showing region Ohio, why not North Virginia? So you have to select the regions, Mohammed Jafri. Because I'm able to change the region though without the assigning permission. Yeah, so connecting to any region is, yeah, you can do with any user, but you cannot use any resources there if we don't have any permissions, right? So then connecting has no meaning as well if there is nothing we can use there. So it's just giving access denied everywhere. We could have given administered access, then you would see that this user is going to every region and you can do anything you want, right? Okay, so guys, this is when you don't have any permissions. Yes, what you can do and what you cannot do, you understand that too. Now, I'm just gonna minimize this because this user is logged in, and we did not give any permissions yet to this user. So that's why we're not getting any kind of results as well. This user can't do anything. So let's go back to our IAM management, and then we can go for task 2 is, what task 2 would be, man, before I write, you guys are finishing it. That's, wow. I mean, so task 2 is, give your first name 01 only administrator access, and check if you can go to S3 service without an error, access denied error, access denied. So access denied, and that's it. So do you have to log out, log in? Do you have to log out and log in after giving the admin access policy to this user, right? So these are the questions. Hey, done without me even finishing it yet? Like done, right? So no error. Okay. So I signed the admin permission. No, we do not need to log on and log in. Okay, there you go. Fahad done as well. Oh man. Okay, I think I should be giving much more difficulter tasks. This was just the start, but that's very good. You guys are smart. Okay, so this means that what we are doing. Oh, so Shabir says, I think I gave IAM user change password. Oh, permission. Okay, so like you kept that selected that the user should be changing the password the next time when user logs in, or actual permission. Maybe it was clicked. Okay. Yeah. Well, no, it's okay. I mean, the permission is there, but yes, unselected because we don't want this user to be affected by that. But once you give admin access, so pretty much everything is given. So I'm going to go to that user, guys. What you did, I'm just going to do that now. So click this, and then there are security credentials. There's add permissions here, right? So once we click the user itself, there is add permissions here, and we click that permissions, and then we go to attach existing policies directly, and we select this administrator access and review, right? So I just went inside the user, went to attach policy, administrator access, add permission. So once I click add permissions here, now this is done here. Maybe there's a refresh here, local refresh, nothing. Okay, so if I go to the other side, yeah, so here I'm refreshing. I'm not signing out, signing in, right? I'm just refreshing that. Does it remove the error? Well, it does. Okay, that's good. Oh, kidding me. I have a bucket here? Seriously? Okay, so that's a gruesome discovery. Da-da-da. Must have done some lab, but not in US West. Oh yeah, I created a cross-region replication bucket there. Oh, man. Okay, anyway, so yeah, and I'm in global right now, but I went to S3. So guys, you don't even have to, if you give permission policies there, which is a set of collection of permissions, then yes, you don't even have to sign out, sign in. It's just synchronized. So let's go ahead and go back to the users here again. And yes, we can know that, oh yes, we can create users, we can assign policies, we can confirm that they connect or not. We can also confirm that they are connected to other. Oh, Ali. Sorry, one more time. Now I have to know which football or hockey match is going on, right? So, one more time, right? One more time, what? Yeah. So click on this your first name 01, and then click add permissions. This one. And then attach existing policies directly, this one. And then, well, I already selected that, that's why it's not showing. Otherwise you will see administrator access. Just select that, and then review and close or finish or whatever. In your first, in the main account, yeah, in the main account, in your root account. So you have to do that in the root account. So all right, guys, so what we do here is we went to users, we create users, and then your first name 01. So yes, for the main account. Okay, in the comment, and then Avast is asking, can we take a high for 10-minute break for Salah? Okay, 8 p.m. I think. No, he's in Pakistan. Fine. So Avast, if you have 5 minutes, there will be a 5-minute break at 9 as well here for Maghrib. So okay, guys, 5 minutes. 5 minutes, right? Okay, 5. So, well, for that meantime, we can talk about just the custom policies here as well. So, well, yeah, break. So I'll just start typing something so we can talk about it later. Custom policy roles, and then there will be identity providers. Now that was in Azure Active Directory as well, identity providers. So we're going to talk about that. Then there is providers, account settings, analyzer. Oh yeah, organization activity, really cool, critical. So guys, anyone has 2 accounts in Azure in AWS? No one has 2 accounts, right? Yeah, Fahad. Okay, so Vikas says, oh, Vikas, you have 2 accounts? Okay. So organization activity. So there's an upcoming topic that's going to be talking about organization activity, and that is about if we have multiple AWS subscriptions, right? Subscriptions. So another account connected to another credit card, right? Another email and a separate credit card, right? So if we have multiple AWS subscriptions for a company, then we can add other AWS subscription under the organization feature. So organization feature service. So this is a service purely for managing under one umbrella different AWS subscription. So this service helps us manage multiple AWS subscription accounts under one umbrella service called AWS organization. So it's always a good idea to have 2 AWS accounts because AWS is so. Oh, so I thought you were asking another user. Oh, okay. So otherwise, Avokas, I was gonna ask that. Hey, just give me your credentials for that other credit card. So first I will buy a car from that, and then I'll use it for organization activity. But okay, no problemo. But yeah, guys, if we want to create 2 or 3 AWS account, it's not about want to. It's about if you want to go for testing this organization activity service. So or how AWS organization service really works. So then if you have multiple, and in companies definitely you will have multiple accounts. In production environments you will definitely have big companies, maybe 5, 6, 10, 20 accounts, and one AWS account with a credit card specific for just critical workloads, other for testing environment, third for dev environment. So you're recklessly using that. So it depends on when one for one project, maybe there's a Nunavut project, then the other one is Quebec project, third one is Ontario project. So suppose your company has different projects there, so they could be different. So sometimes you lose count if there are so many accounts. So under one umbrella you can attach all the AWS organization. Under or AWS organization service you can attach all the. So I think one of us there was a student, only one student or 2 students in previous all courses. They actually went for creating another AWS free subscription, and then they went with the testing of the service of AWS organization. So that was really good. the students, you have to be following the no fear policy first, and then create another AWS subscription with your second credit card, second email address, and then add that under this service, and you will be okay. But you get to know then how, and you can answer that in the interview as well once you've gone through this. Okay, guys, so thank you for your understanding as well. So that's AWS subscription. Then we're going to talk about identity providers, and that is we're going to go in details as well, but just the details, and then I'm going to show you, or I can give you links for big labs there. But identity providers is that we can connect from on premises to so on premises. We can connect from on-premises branch to AWS, and we can also connect from other online services to AWS. So in that case, identity providers, you want to use somebody else's AWS trusts some other online or on-premises premises services authentication. That's what it's doing. Trusting some other sites authentication. Hey, I trust your users. They can, if they get authenticated from you guys, like Google Suite or from Azure or from Google Cloud. If you authenticated them, I trust you, and you can connect to my resources. That's what AWS is saying, right? So okay, so yeah, I think it's 5 minutes. So we're going to be talking about that, identity providers, and then organization activity. So we get to know some of the basic details of that, and custom policy. That's where the challenge really starts. That how can we create? How can we? All right, thank you, Wiz. And oh, mute. Yeah. Okay, guys. So now, so here, Ali noticed 10 minutes, right? So here, guys, we can just continue, and to be exact, 8 minutes. Okay. So let's get down to seconds and milliseconds as well. So, alright, guys, but thank you for your understanding as well. And users, now we go to groups. Now this is really simple, but we just have to go through once, right? So let's go to groups here, and let's click the create new group, right? Let's click the create new group. So once we click a create new group, then we can just name it marketing DEPT, right? So we go for marketing DEPT by creating a new group, and the name is marketing DEPT. Then click next step. So this is pretty easy, right? Marketing DEPT, next. And do you want to attach any permissions to the marketing group? So is this page still loading, or oh yeah, some of the services that were created by me are actually not having or maybe you're also seeing that the logo of AWS is not even showing there. Okay, for all others it's showing, but it's not for these. For some of the policies are maybe they're Lambda policies. Okay, CloudWatch synthetics, I did create that on that date. No, maybe you're not seeing that. Okay, so the thing is that, guys, what is the recommendation when it comes to groups? Or what is the recommendation to give administrator access? Normally the recommendation is, or the best practice in companies is, that you create a group and then you give administrator access to that group, and then you add or remove users from that group. So this means that you don't actually directly give access to the users, right? You give it to a group and then add whichever user wants to be given that permission of administrator access to a group, and whichever not, or you want to remove the user, and user will not have access. So that's a best practice when you create a group. So there's a marketing department, and then we are not giving any permission here. So let's click next step, and that's it, create group. So we gave a name, and we didn't give any policy, attach any policy to a group, and then we click create group. That's it, right? So if we click attach, okay, let me just remove this sales group because you don't have it. So marketing department here, and that is created here. So what we need to do as task 3 is, hopefully you're not already in my mind and you're reading my mind, and then you're done with that task as well. But it's going to be that best practices that we can follow. And the best practice is that remove the admin access from your first name 01, attach this admin access to marketing group, add your first name 01 to this group. Okay, this time I wrote it real fast, so you can't say done. Well, so can we expand the limitation for adding policies more than 10? Well, in that case, we have to go through the documentation, because I never had to actually do that myself in contracts. So, but if you go for those policies, suppose I go for, I'm just doing that now. So guys, go ahead and do that, and attach policy, and up to 10 policies attached each group can have. So obviously there's a limit there, but you have to go for the documentation, ask for support. By default you won't get it, but after asking for support, they might make some changes there, and we have to be just thinking that if you want some other policies, just create another group that would have a bit different policies. 10 is more than enough actually for one group, because it's gonna actually create conflicts. There's a fear of conflicts if we attach a lot of policies. One policy conflicts with another policy and everything gets confusing, so that's why they put a limit there. But just create another group for that. It's a default behavior, and if you want to change that, I think you have to talk to support. I don't think they're gonna actually allow that. Okay. So 2 dones already. Imane said done. Mohammed Jafri said done. Like you remove the policy. Usman Shabir says done. Snark says done. Shiva says done. Ashraf says done. Hey, it's raining dones. Good. Okay. So Avas is done. Fahd, sorry, we are adding any of the 10 policies. Well, we're just adding administrator access, Fahd. So we're removing administrator access from your first name 01. We're adding it to the group, and then we're adding your first name 01 to the group. So remove the admin access from 01, attach this admin access to marketing group, add your first name 01 to this group. So we're still giving this guy admin access, but with the best practices in the market. Okay, so NMS is done. Okay, so well, that was fast. I should give you guys something tough, right? So it should take time. You should be like stuck. Then I could say yeah, ha ha ha. Okay. Anyway, so but the thing is, you guys are smart. That's very good. And this is really basics of what we're doing, and you guys are good. So this means you're ready for some much more tougher things. In fact, there's a ticket coming today, and that ticket is I should not even be giving that ticket at the start of the course, right? But majority of the courses, the students, and I will give you like the whole course time to resolve that ticket, right? The whole course time. So it is challenging, very challenging, and that's why you will have enough time. But some of the students were so determined, they resolved this ticket that is gonna be given to you today. Okay, anyway, so I've already challenged you. You guys are smart. You can work together on that or individually, but it's gonna be really challenging ticket you're gonna get. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'll just remove that permission from admin access, right? So that was the first thing. So I'm going to go to users. Yeah, Osman says, I have a question. Yes, sir. Ali says done. Fahad says done. Okay, so you can use mic as well, or you can just, no, I cannot hear you. Hello, testing. Nope, no, Osman, I cannot hear you. Yeah, well, maybe here you can unmute yourself from here and from your keyboard. Also check that if the mute button is pressed. So, and unmute from here as well. Oh, okay. Or you can send a WhatsApp audio message as well. Oh, it's up to you. So while this is going on, I'm just gonna do that your first name 01. I'm gonna click that, and there's that permission here. So if I go inside, I need to remove it, right? So there's this cross sign here, right? I'm gonna click that cross sign now, and then it says, "Are you sure you want to remove?" Detach, yes, detach. That's the first thing. And this was too fast. That's not fair. Oh, I mean that's fair actually. And so the permission is removed from the user. Then I go to the group, and I click that group here and attach policy here, and then admin access. So I'll have to actually check that. Admin is, yeah, there you go, admin access in the filter, and then attach policy here. It's attached, and then I'm still in the group, right? So I'm gonna go to users and add user to group. Now I'm adding only your first name 01 and add users. So that's done. Okay, yeah, it was not that big deal. So that's very good. You guys are smart. Oh, okay. So there is audio message from Usman. So okay, I'll just run it on WhatsApp.
Okay, so I just need to know that if I remove, if I just have access, administrator access to the user one, and I'm moving the user one to the group, to the marketing group. So the permission which we have already assigned with user one still be there.
Yes. So it should not be in conflict with whatever permission was given to the group. Suppose the group is actually giving read only, while the user has administrator access. So there's a direct conflict then, right? But if the group has been not given any permission, and the permission is attached directly to the user, so user retains that permission, and that's why we had to remove that permission first. So the best practice is don't attach it to a user, attach it to the group. And yes, if in our case that group had no permission but the user had, so if we have added that user here in the group where there's no permission to the group, the user would still keep its permission, will have that permission, unless there's a read-only permission. In that case, deny takes precedence over allow. So that would be overall. So there should not be any conflict. That's the only thing we need to understand. Thank you, sir. Welcome. All right, guys. So let's get going. Okay. So here we create a user, we create a group where we get the idea about these things. Then on the left side, you can see roles. So let's click the roles here. That's the trickier part now. Others were, yeah, piece of cake. Maybe you make it sound even, very, very easy. So that's very good. That's a good thing, right? So but what are roles then? If policy is a set of permissions, and we can attach a policy to a user and attach a policy to a group, then what are roles then? So in these four scenarios here, you can use the roles as well. IAM roles are a secure way to grant permissions to entities that you trust. Example of entities include the following: IAM user in another account. Oh, so you created another subscription with a separate credit card and separate email, and from that subscription, there's user your first name 04 wants to connect to your subscription here to a group or a service. So in that case, the role will be used here. So there is another AWS account that you've created there, and this is our AWS account there, and there's a group that you created here, and there's a user, your first name 05 or 4. So that user from another subscription with another credit card, another email is coming there. So then you use role for that. What does role do? You attach permissions to roles that if this role has a permissions, you attach a policy to the role. Policy is a collection of permissions. You attach some authorizations, some privileges to the role, that hey, if I attach this role to this user, what else did I attach here is that if suppose we created a role called EC2 access, right? EC2 full access, EC2 full access. This means that full access to virtual machines, whatever you want, you can create, delete, remove, whatever you want, right? Permission for external user, Ali says yes. So suppose this user is given attached to this role. So what this user can do that is coming from another AWS subscription, that this user, as soon as that role is attached to this external user, we can say, then the user can create machine, that you can delete machine, that you can user can modify machine, attach RAM, CPU, hard disk. So whatever the EC2 full access policy that was attached to a role, and then this role was attached to the user that is coming from another AWS subscription or external user. So you attach set of policies to a role, then you attach that role to any outside entity, any entity you trust, right? So this is the first for IAM user in another account. Then the second thing is application code running on an EC2 instance that needs to perform actions on AWS resources. Okay, so in English, what it means is that suppose you create an EC2 instance. Now, again, we're sticking to terminology here. So EC2 instance, when you create there, and you have EC2 instance, and that's a virtual machine or EC2 instance you create there. Now there is OS inside, maybe there's a Linux OS, maybe there's a Windows OS, and then there's that code, application code that is running on it. Suppose this code actually copies some files or deletes automatically some old files. So this code is running, but this code is being run under a service called, or under an AWS resource called EC2 instance, right? So EC2 instance that needs to perform actions on AWS resources. So this code needs to access another service. There are 200 plus services of AWS. So suppose there's another service called VPC, that is virtual private cloud, or another service called like RDS or relational database services, or any S3. This is just storage. Or it goes on ML, machine learning, or Lambda. It goes on and on and on and on and on, right? So Lambda, you will be hearing that a lot actually in the exam questions. What is Lambda? In fact, I'll be mentioning that, and then when you prepare for the exam certifications, you will be also seeing that Lambda is mentioned. So what Lambda is, I'm just going to tell that briefly, that if you have you're a developer and you developed a code there, right? Then I'm going to come back to role here. So if you develop some application code, now suppose you're not on AWS, so you develop an application code and that application code needs to run, but that for that code to run, you need to have at least 5 machines here, EC2 instances, or 5 physical servers, HP servers, Dell servers, or IBM servers, and then you need to have 8 core processors on that, and you need to have 32 GB RAM on that, and you need to have 5 terabyte SSD disk as well for each physical server. I'm talking about, you're not in AWS right now. I'm talking about that if on premises you needed to run a code that is so big, it's actually a hospital application code, right? So, or you want to start that code, run it, test it, which is going to become a part of a hospital application. But you need 4 physical servers, and their hardware configuration is so big. So after that, the code is running fine and it's good. But you had to use that much resources. You purchased it, it took time, you installed it, configured it, connected to it, then you ran the code, right? Instead of that, you can bring that code to Lambda, and what Lambda does is, so Lambda says that, hey, just throw that or copy paste that code into Lambda, and it will figure out what you need, and it will support, it will provide all those resources automatically. If you needed 4 virtual machines with 8 core, 12, 16 core, 32 core processor, and 32 GB, 64 GB RAM, and 5 terabyte or 50 terabyte disk, it's going to automatically provide resources in the background to all the code here, right? So Lambda is a heaven for developers. You come up with a code, you just throw it in Lambda, it figures out what you need, it expands and provides those resources for the code, and the full-fledged application code runs without purchasing, without worrying about the environment that it needs. So here you had to create your environment yourself, and it took some time and a lot of money. So there you throw the code inside, it figures out the environment, it provides that environment, it even offers scalability. Later you add some more code, and it just keeps on expanding. Oh, you need 10 more servers, okay, so it just provides those 10 more servers right away, because in the background they have huge data centers there, right? So that's Lambda. I just wanted to mention because it's going to come back again and again. What is Lambda? What is Lambda, right? So it's just you put the code and it runs. So but back to the roles, right? So suppose the role, there's a code on a virtual machine or EC2 instance, and that code actually is trying to connect to another AWS resource here, an S3 storage bucket, or a virtual private cloud, which is a private network in your AWS public network or public cloud, and then or machine learning. So any of the resource if it wants to run, so you can create a role for that. Oh, you actually want to have full access to S3 bucket. Okay, so I'm going to attach first of all, I'm going to create a role. I'm going to attach a policy that gives S3 full access. So S3 full access policy, full access policy. One C is missing. Okay, full access policy. So you create a policy, you attach it to the role, and then you attach that role to that virtual machine or that code here, or you provide that role to that code, and that code uses the roles provided all the permissions here to access S3 and do whatever changes. Suppose that code creates 50 folders and then subfolders, and then give automatic permissions there, but for that it needs full access to the S3 bucket, which is just a storage folder where you can upload files and folders. So that role is assigned to this code, that is, and the full access and the policy has been assigned to this role. So I hope you understand that what role really is doing there. What is the role of a role here? Oh, just kidding. Okay, so I'm going to print screen here, and then I'm going to go for the next 2 scenarios as well, but because I was running out of space here, so I'll just put that here, roles. So if you go further here, so you can see an AWS service that needs to act on resources in your account to provide its features. So that is also then an AWS service like VPC, a virtual private cloud, again S3 or EC2 instance or any other service that needs to act on resources in your account to provide its features. So an AWS service like EC2 instance or any other, this is a service which just provides virtual machines, right? So to act on resources, to provide some resources, to work on some resources. Now some resources could be storage, again could be any to provide its features. So this is just saying that whatever resources it's using, it needs to explore or try to have full access to its features, right? So then you need a role as well. Now EC2 is connected to, there's another service called Active Directory, and we're going to actually use that role there at that time. So you can actually go for, it's not Active Directory, it's directory service. In AWS, the service is called directory service. So EC2 wants to go ahead and use this directory service. So in that case, you would just give a role there. And so the main thing about role is you just need to know what kind of features that service really wants and attach that policy that allows this service to use those features, right? So just what policy can be attached to the role and what are the requirements of that entity here, right? So that's what you need to really understand here. I'm just gonna go ahead with one more here, and that is users from a corporate directory who use identity federation with SAML. Whenever you hear the word SAML, so okay, so Adi says rule can include more than two policy, like role can include more than two policy like S3 VPC. Yes, role can include even more than one policy here as well. But normally, so suppose you need to have multiple policies attached there, right? So better go for custom policy. That's the next topic. How to create a custom policy of your own, right? Okay, guys. So here, an AWS service. Now, users from a corporate directory who use identity federation with SAML. So whenever you use the word SAML, so it always means that you're talking about on-premises now. So if you have on-premises, wow, what kind of N is that? So on-prem. If you have on-premises, servers and applications there, and those applications need to connect to your AWS cloud services there. So in that case, AWS cloud, right? So users from a corporate directory who use identity federation. Now, what is identity federation? Suppose it's a Windows environment, Microsoft environment, Active Directory environment. So you will have a federation service called ADFS. Maybe some of you have heard that before. ADFS is Active Directory Federation Services. What it does is federation services that it securely let your end users connect to external web resources by using their local credentials. So these end users, they are logging into Windows 10 daily. They are connecting to local file server, local print server. So but they use their local credentials. But then the company says, hey, actually you can access an outside the company AWS resource as well. So then they say, okay, where's the link? So they provide the URL, they click the URL, and the URL goes through the ADFS. So what the end users did, they just logged in from their Windows 10 daily credentials and then click that link. After that, the ADFS took them to an outside the company resource in cloud or in another branch, but any of the web resources that are outside of the company. So for that, ADFS is used. So whenever you see federation services, so that is in terms of Windows, so there is Active Directory Federation Services here. Through that, you can make a connection. So if Active Directory Federation Services wants to connect to AWS, then you would need a role, and that role you have to attach some kind of policy there according to the needs. Oh, you want just identity to be correct. There's a policy there, or you want in AWS to connect to maybe EC2 instances. You just want those end users want to create actually EC2 instances because those are developers maybe. So you can just create a role here, attach it to EC2, and that role is called EC2 full access, suppose, right? So there's a policy that attaches to the role. That role is provided to ADFS connection here that is going there. So role has some policy attached, and that is fulfilling the requirement or whatever the requirement was of those users to connect to AWS, right? So it's kind of tricky, but the thing is that roles are not used as policies. Policies you attach to internal users and groups. Roles you attach to pretty much external entities, or wherever the policies cannot be used, you can use roles within your AWS environment. But in most cases, you see that across the services when they are communicating, and then if it's an outsider entity that needs to access your, so in that case you use roles. So wherever policies don't cover ground, roles come in that case, right? So I'll just print screen that. Let's create one role, but we're gonna actually check that in an upcoming lab, which is directory service lab. That's where we're gonna check that role, how it works. So right now we're gonna create the role. So I'm just gonna Okay, so there's a question, what is SAML? So it is, I'll just quickly go for these. Security Assertion Markup Language is an open standard for exchanging authentication and authorization data between parties. So main thing here is exchanging authentication and authorization data between parties. So on-premises party would ask that, hey, my user needs full access to the cloud service. So first of all, is that your user? So cloud or AWS will ask the on-premise, or AWS will try to confirm that is that user that is coming, is that coming from the correct branch and correct Active Directory? And then suppose the authentication is done, then what kind of authorization this user has on the AWS virtual machines, right? So no, Ali is asking then what is SAML, and then like ADFS. Now ADFS also offers SAML, which is, so SAML is just trying to provide the two parties with correct authentication and authorization services, right? Two parties, correct authentication and authorization services. That's what SAML is doing. So SAML is a protocol that is accepted in the industry between two online services as well, like AWS and Azure, AWS and Google Cloud. While ADFS is supporting SAML, as well as there is another one called OpenID. So there are a number of protocols that OpenID Connect is another way to confirm each other's authentication and authorization information, and SAML also does that. So ADFS supports both OpenID and SAML. But when you talk about SAML, so ADFS is particularly supporting SAML. This is a very secure way between two online services or on-premises and online to check the correctness of each other's users, and what so again, the authentication and authorization of each other's companies. When you want to know that, then you use SAML. I'll copy that here as well. So I'll be putting this document there when I, okay, OpenID Connect. And how to remove AWS organization? Oh, okay, I think we will need that if we went that far. Okay, oh, and I didn't do anything, seriously. Okay, so anyway, so this is just SAML. Now, who is managing AWS? So Ali is asking who is managing AWS, you and me. So the main thing is, Ali, that when we are attaching a local branch that is on-prem, right, to AWS. So whoever is the administrator of AWS, whoever the administrator of on-premises, they will configure. So whoever is the administrator of ADFS server here would be connecting it to AWS there. So the administrators will be talking to each other, and they will be exchanging each other's credentials, and they will be regulating everything step by step. Who's managing SAML? Is that AWS? So Ali is asking who's managing SAML. So SAML is, this is basically you create a connector between the two authorities here, and that authorities, two different services. One is AWS, one is on-premises. So you create a connector here. That connector in the background is using the SAML protocol. Basically, what you're doing is SAML is understood by AWS, by Google Cloud, by Azure, by everyone. And SAML is understood that this is a protocol that exists. And if you want to talk to another outside organization, so we can talk to them with SAML, or we can exchange our users' authentication. There are some rules of authentication. Those rules are defined in SAML, that hey, when we are doing authentication, so what is the rule number 1, what is the rule number 2, what is the rule number 3, and then the authorization. So ADFS is already programmed to connect through SAML protocol to any other organization, and AWS is also programmed to connect through SAML to any other organization as well, right? So who is managing SAML? Is that AWS? AWS says, what is meant by on-prem and off-prem? This question sounds silly, but just 17 years old. Okay, that's a good way, nice way to ask Wes. I'm just 17 years old. That's a good one. So, yeah. Hey, guys, anyone here 17 or less? So this course is only for, oh, Vakas, 13 years. There you go. There you go. So, Avas, there's a 13-year-old guy here as well. So, your record is broken already. And he knows what is on-prem. So, Avas, so see, I'm doing like this. Okay, anyway, just kidding. No, he's not 30. So, guys, here, the on-premises is just that's on the ground. That's not actually, cloud is also on the ground. It's not actual cloud. So, but the thing is, on-premises is your company's data center. On-premises is your company's data center. So when you enter your company's building, that's the data center they have there as well, suppose. So that's on-premises, and cloud is whatever data centers of AWS is, wherever they are, you're connecting to them through AWS console to any one of their nearest data centers. So on-premises of a company would be their data center, company's own data center, where they spend millions of dollars to create that data center, and the cloud would be Amazon's data centers or Azure's data centers or Google's cloud data centers, right? Okay, so Ali's asking, SAML is a protocol? Yes, SAML is a protocol for authentication and authorization, and ADFS understands SAML, and AWS understands SAML as well, and they connect to each other, with the help of SAML protocol. Okay, so mute all. Guys, just mute your mic. Okay, so that SAML protocol, we just talked about that as well, that it is security assertion markup language. So it's a security assertion markup language is an open standard for exchanging authentication and authorization data between parties, in particular between an identity provider like Active Directory and a service provider, right? SAML is an XML based markup language for security assertions. So the thing is that the main thing is that if you have AWS, or if you have Active Directory, if you have Active Directory Federation services, single sign-on, then you can connect your local branch to AWS, because both understand this SAML protocol, with which they can clearly know that the user that is coming from the local branch is the user that is coming from, it belongs to the local branch. It is not a hacker, and the authentication is perfect. It's correct. It's not impersonation by some hacker. So for that, there is SAML. Okay, so Wakai is asking, is there any plans for break? So let's make some plans. Oh, okay, break, guys. So 15 minutes now, and then 5 minutes at 9:05 or 9, right? So 15-minute break now, 1:05, and then we go ahead. So then we're going to create a role. After that, we're going to go for policies, then identity providers. Okay, 18 minutes. So what's the logic of 18? So it's 8:25, right? Yeah, 9:08 would be Maghrib. So okay, so 18. So class starts 8:25. Come on, man. We need to cover a lot. So brag. Pausing. So we were talking about the authentications. The authentication protocols there, SAML, and also that the role is used in how many other types of scenarios. So users from a corporate directory who use Identity Federation SAML, with SAML, so that's what we understand from here. So anyone connecting from outside or any one service of AWS connecting to any other service of AWS is where you can try to use the role. Oh, did I resume? Yeah. Alright guys, so we're going to create a role, but we're going to use it in an upcoming lab, in another lab, right? So then I'm going to show you that, okay, this is the role that we are using now, because we still need to have one service actually using another service. We haven't even started using any services yet, but we're going to still create a role here that later you're going to see where we're going to use and how to use that. So I'm just going to go down here, and there are all the roles here that I've also created. Maybe you will see 3 or 4 roles there. I'm seeing a lot because I've used that in previous courses for other classes. So I'm just going to click that create role here just to go through the features that how to actually create a role and prepare it for some other scenarios. So I'm just going to click that create role here. Okay, so there's that another AWS account. So it's asking, hey, do you have another AWS account or web identity, Cognito, or any OpenID provider? So OpenID, and then there is SAML. So we talked about SAML, security assertion markup language, or where you can where it checks exchanging authentication and authorization data between parties. So that was SAML. OpenID Connect is also, and it's a simple identity layer on top of OAuth 2.0 protocol, which allows computing clients or virtual machines or servers to verify. Oops. Okay. So OpenID Connect is a simple identity layer on top of the OAuth 2.0 protocol, which allows computing clients to verify the identity of an end user based on the authentication performed by an authorization server, as well as to obtain basic profile information. Oops. Oh my God. Okay. As long as as well as to obtain basic profile information. Let's mute our mics, guys. Oh, okay. As well as to obtain basic profile information about the end user in an interoperable and REST-like manner. Or OpenID Connect is also a thin layer that sits on top of OAuth that adds login and profile information about the person who is logged in. Establishing a login session is often referred to as authentication, and information about the person logged in resource owner is called identity. So anyway, this in English what we say is that OpenID also confirms that the user is coming from a correct source, correct network, correct Active Directory, and it's not an impersonator, and it's not a hacker. Or so OpenID Connect is understood as an authentication protocol between all parties on premises Active Directory and in the cloud, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, while SAML is also another type of authentication system, an authorization system that does the same thing, confirms that the user is coming from the correct source, correct company, and where it's supposed to come, and it's not an impersonator or a hacker. So these two types of protocols are supported by AWS, and in the industry these are commonly used between two different organizations to authenticate each other's users to each other's resources. So in our case, select type of trusted entity. So what we did was, I'll cancel it. So we just click the create role button here. So let's click the so Mohammad Awad is asking that did you start any lab? And yeah, we did a lot of labs. Well, we created users, we created groups, we talked about permissions. So yeah, Mohammad Awad, you can actually follow it in the video, and before the next class you can just do all the labs as well with all the details. Any questions you can ask on WhatsApp as well. So here we're gonna click that create role. Let's click the create role here, and then there is AWS service, EC2, Lambda, and others. We're just gonna click that AWS service. So we are creating a role for an AWS service. So which AWS service? There are many AWS services here. So which one? So we're saying that most common services are EC2 and Lambda services. We talked about Lambda as well. So we can select EC2, so that the virtual machine creating service, we are about to attach a set of policies or a set of permissions, or we're about to attach a policy to a service, right? So that's what role does. Role gets attached with a policy, and then the role gets attached to a service. So that's what we talked about. A policy connects to a service, that is role. So, and then that service can use some other service, or some outsider can use this service. So we're going to AWS service we selected, and then the EC2 we selected. So this is the virtual machine creation service, and then we're going to go down to permissions here. And in the permissions, so this role, we told the role, hey, we're attaching a policy, which is a set of permissions, which is a collection of permissions. We are attaching a policy to a service called EC2 instance, right, which is a virtual machine service, right? So what we need to do is any policy that that's whose name is related to EC2. So I'm going to go to search here, and I'm going to go for EC2. And if I go EC2, then I type full, F-U-L-L. Oh, there's a policy here that is called Amazon EC2 full access. Okay. So here, type this, Ali, which you choose where, Ali? So filter policies, there's just this policy. So I'm on policies here. So I just typed EC2. Okay, so and full. So if I type full here, so that's Amazon EC2 full. So I'm just going to click that. And so this is the policy that gives full access to creating, deleting, modifying virtual machines. This is the policies getting attached to a service, right? So that's what we're doing till now. So this policy we selected and clicked tags. We don't have to put anything in tags because it's already, we understand what is tag. So branch is Toronto, or department is sales, or okay. So let's click review, and review, you have to actually give a name to this. So we're creating a role where a service got attached to a policy, or a policy got attached to a service, right? So that role is your first name. You can just type here your first name, EC2 full access. I think it's not gonna let me go ahead. So use alphanumeric and characters maximum 64 characters. Oh, so it's case sensitive. I think it's not case sensitive. So your first name, EC2 full access. So that's the name you give there, and click create role. There's a create role. So we created your first name, EC2 access, full access here. Now this role that we created, we haven't used it between any service. So we're going to use that. So I'm just telling you now, because later when that lab comes, then we will get to use that. So we're going to be actually using in the future an AWS service called directory service, right? So in that directory service, we can install Active Directory, and in that Active Directory, we will join machines to domain in that case. So if we go to EC2, so later we're going to go to EC2, but this is a big lab. So we're going to create a virtual machine Now that virtual machine will have Windows OS. Later we're going to do that, in third or fourth or fifth or sixth classes. So Windows OS. So this OS we need to join to an Active Directory domain. This means that there are two services there which are interacting with each other. This is we're gonna do after 4 or 5 classes, right? Or maybe it's next class, right? So we're gonna do that. Ali, that's the third time. So you're not paying, right? You should pay, man. Have you paid? Attention, I'm saying attention. So there's a other word I also say, Master G. Master G means a respected teacher, right? So, but I say Master G where somebody's doing, some repeated common basic kind of mistakes. So that's the third time you're asking that. Repeat. All others are not. So, okay, I'm going to repeat that, but let me just explain that now, right? So, role, we're going to be using in future the directory service, which is a separate AWS service, and EC2, which is a separate AWS service, and directory service wants to have full access to EC2. So, when we are doing this lab, you're going to see that when we are creating virtual machine, so it will ask that, hey, do you have any role, which we just created now, do you have any role that gives full access to another AWS service called directory service? There are 200 plus AWS services there, right? 200 plus AWS services. So do you have, so we're going to attach this role at that time to that virtual machine, which needs to join to an Active Directory domain, and that Active Directory domain lives inside another service. So if it had to go across AWS to another service and interact with that, this one service has to interact with another service, then you need a role for that. So in that case, in that lab, we're going to use that role. But now we just know how to create a role. But later, we're just going to use this role in a future upcoming lab, right? So I'm just going to print screen that, and it will be just two different services wanting to interact with each other. Then in that case, for that scenario, we will be using the role, right? So okay, Ali, what we did was we just click the create role. Ali, are you there? So click the create role. Then it is already selected here. Then click EC2 instance. EC2 instance, and then next permissions. Next permissions. So just select EC2 instance permissions, and then just type here in the search EC2 full. Just type EC2 full and select it. So this policy just provides full access to whatever you want to do in EC2 instance or virtual machines. So it does that. And then tags, nothing in the tags. And then review, just put the name, your first name, EC2 full access. So your first name, EC2 full access, right? Just give that and yeah.
I just got a question that do we need to remind, like do we need to just remember all the services, all the accesses, so we can just type like EC2 in a filter and we can get it?
Exactly. So whichever service we're going to interact, so we would know the name. So then if we want to check what are the permissions available for that, then yes, we have to go for typing that service. Or these are 500 different roles. We can just keep scrolling down. Or if you want to use work with Lambda, so what kind of permissions are there available for Lambda? So we can just type in search Lambda only. No problem, Ali. So yeah, so we have to know the service name. That's all. Okay.
Well, just sorry, I come late, but okay. But I need to know what the benefit of role. Could you please just quick what the benefit of role? Why you create rules?
Yeah. So roles are to give access to outside entity, and to give any permissions to outside, and these are the 4 scenarios here that we discussed in detail actually. So IAM user, suppose you have a user that is created in another AWS environment, right? So you purchase another AWS and then from a separate credit card. So if the user is coming from another AWS account to this account, then you use role for that. But we discussed before that what is policies, and so there's a difference between roles and policies there. So that's why I'm saying that you might have to see the video to understand all that.
I'll see the video. Yeah. Thank you for time. Thank you.
Okay. So here, so roles are just for outside entities that we use, but this is how much we can discuss about role, because we're going to use that in a future lab at that time, right? So because if I start using now, we don't even know the basic features of AC2. That's for everyone. And we don't know how the directory service really works, right? So those 2 services, when I explain in detail about both services, then I will remind you that, okay, so remember that we created a role, now we're using that role here, and I can explain again at that time as well. So, but the roles are really used for to give access or permissions to outside entities to AWS, or between 2 different AWS services if they want to interact with each other. Then we also use roles. Policies we use when we can attach policies to users, we can attach policies to groups as well. But roles are used for outside users or between 2 services, 2 different services. Okay, so guys, then there is policies here, and that's what we have been seeing till now, right? So here, there are policies here, and we've been seeing that policies, we've been selecting the policies, and you know the administrator access policy. So this is, so policy first of all is collection of permissions. So what are permissions? You're allowed to create a virtual machine, you're allowed to delete a virtual machine, you're allowed to modify a virtual machine. That's permission number 1, permission 2, permission 3. But if you want to collect them all, then you can attach them into a policy. So this is that policy that we see, which is just a collection of number of permissions there, right? So now we already know that the process of policy is you can assign a policy to a user, you can assign a policy to a group. But what about, there's a scenario here, right? And that's your ticket, and a big challenge as well. You don't really have to finish that soon, but the challenge is that you won't be able to finish it in this week or 2 weeks, the ticket that is coming your way. But I'm going to explain that. But first we have to understand what is a policy. Like how do we create a custom policy? We see ready-made policies here, but we can create our own policy as well. And what is the scenario? Scenario is you got a junior administrator. You're the senior AWS administrator there, right? And you're earning like 35, 55 per hour. It's nice to say that, right? 55 per hour. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so in that case, the junior administrator must not have, for initial probing, so 3 months is a probation time, right? So normally you check that. Yes, exactly, Mohammed. Mohammed says in the chat, can I design rule and policy? Yes, we can create roles ourselves and we can design policies ourselves as well. And that's exactly what we're about to do now. So, but the scenario is that a junior administrator or a desktop support guy just joined the company, and the boss said, hey, give that desktop support guy the permission to create a virtual machine, to modify a virtual machine, but the user cannot delete a virtual machine. Again, the desktop user should be able to create a virtual machine, modify a virtual machine, start a virtual machine, stop a virtual machine, but cannot delete a virtual machine. So this means now you have to work on a policy that is, well, custom policy, right? So you have to come up with your own policy. So this means that you have to work a lot. You have to create a policy, collect some permissions from here and there, and then keep on testing them again and again and again and again until you're sure that if that user logs in, you attach that. So you test the policy, you create that policy, then you attach that policy, new custom policy that you worked on day and night and tested it vigorously. So then you attach that policy to that new user. When the user logs in, he or she can actually create, modify, start, stop, restart a virtual machine, but cannot delete a virtual machine, right? So you can do that, in fact, that's your assignment or a ticket that you can take even the time period, the SLA is, or service level agreement, or when you can finish it is that before the end of this course. So I'm going to click that create policy. But what are we understanding here now? So we know ready-made policies, but can we create a policy of our own with permissions selected from anywhere, right? So, or different permissions. So let's click the create policy here. And in the create policy, if you are into codes already, if you have some ready-made codes that does different types of tasks that you exactly want, then you can just copy that code here as well. Otherwise, you can go for visual editor, which is this, where we can actually choose that what we want to apply, what we don't want to apply, right? So we can go for service that, oh, I want a custom policy. And remember that scenario that desktop administrator, desktop support guy joined, a person joined, and he or she needs to be given a specific permission where he or she can create and modify and start, stop, restart a virtual machine, but cannot delete. We're not doing that now. I'm just showing you all the sections of that because that's going to be your ticket that you need to resolve, and you can take the time till the end of this course. All other tickets, it's 1 week, 2 weeks, but this is a bit more challenging. Okay, anyway, because you haven't even gone through the virtual machine creation yet, right? Although that's it's easy. Okay, service. So first we go for service. So what we're about to do is we're about to check how to create a custom policy. That's it. What are the features of creating a custom policy or a policy that you can decide permissions yourself, right? So let's click choose a service. So about what you're creating a policy. Is it about Alexa, voice activation service? Is it about VPC, virtual private cloud? Is it about S3? So let's click choose a service first. And then it gives you pretty much all the services of AWS. That's a lot, right? So we're going to go for our favorite one here that we've been choosing till now. So in that find a service, you can type EC2, right? So suppose and it's not suppose, this is again your task, the ticket that you need to give a user certain type of permissions on EC2 instance. Cannot delete, but can do anything else other than delete, right? So EC2, when you type here and then click EC2. So let's click EC2 after selecting or searching it. Click EC2, right? So we're just exploring all the options, and so then you see list access level. Oh, that user should be given an access level. So list that user can list the features of a EC2 instance or a virtual machine. That user can read the features of a virtual machine or tag a virtual machine. That means just put some extra data there or metadata or some information about that virtual machine, or actually make some modifications like write on the virtual machine, or permissions management, however else you want to permit that user, right? So if we expand that list here, so you can see that in the list you can see a lot of options. So it's describe, get. So the command starts from describe, command starts from export, then there are get commands as well for pretty much all the services related to EC2, right? Whatever you can do. So describe is just giving you read permissions, but if you want to go down into, hey, what does it do anyway? So you can see that question mark here as well, right? So let's click the question mark for the first one, describe account attributes. So what does it do? So I'm going to click that question mark here. Let's click that question mark. And then this description grants permission to describe the attributes of the AWS account. So describe or just lay a list of, okay, it can do this, and that. So let's click learn more here as well. This one, right? Let's click. So Ali says, can we say we are adding rule? Now, do you mean role or do you mean rule in a general term here? Yeah, where we can say that we're adding some kind of permissions for that desktop administrator or desktop support guy, right? So we want that person to be able to do this. Suppose I select that, and suppose and this and this. So I want that person to do these three things, but that person should not be able to do all other things. So that's what we're doing here, right? We're assigning some permissions to that person. But then obviously when you are given that task, you will have to know that exactly what does it do. Is it that what I really want that guy to do? Does this do that what I want that guy to do, right? So I'm going to click learn more here, and then that opens a full documentation. Now AWS is famous for one of the best documentations there are for any product. AWS's documentation goes in detail, and as easy you can see from any vendor or documentation, it is that obviously if it's you're looking at some advanced service there itself, it is advanced, then you should have some basic knowledge of what it's writing. But then the documentation AWS puts there has been known to be the easiest one to follow. But anyway, describe account attributes here. Describe attributes of your AWS account. The following are the supported account attributes: supported platforms, default VPC, maximum instances, VPC maximum security, groups per interface, maximum elastic IPs, VPC max. So this option is going to describe or lay out to you, or put in the in front of you some attributes of the EC2 instance. That is, EC2 instance is supporting which platform, which VPC or which network or which virtual private cloud, and how many maximum instances there can be. So anyway, what I'm trying to say here is that they have put the question mark at the end of pretty much everything here, right? All the options that you have for an EC2 instance. So you can then select that, yes, the desktop support guy that is joining from Monday will have, okay, let's give him this one as well. Oh, okay, let's give him this one as well. Okay, so you would have read it all, and whatever the boss said, that give him this, give him or her this is this, but not this is this. So, or this, or this, or this. So you get the point here that you would have to work on that what you are giving and what that person should not have, right? So I'm randomly selected the first two here without reading anything, because I'm not actually creating that policy for that, because that's a ticket now. Okay. Yeah, so if you selected these two, then let's collapse this now, right? Collapse this down arrow. Avakas says in the chat, so basically the default policies are also contains checked some all options, which we are seeing in drop down menu. Exactly. So the options there in the default policies are a combination of some from list, some from read, some from tagging, some from write, some from permissions. But they have given all this to us as well to play with and to put our own custom permissions. Exactly. As you can see. Okay guys, so here list, you two selected, then we go expand the read here, right? So then you can see that, oh, you really want to give read permission as well. List is just listing out that, okay, this one. Read is that you can actually go inside some of the attributes and check further policies there as well. So I'm just randomly selecting one from here without knowing what is that, why am I selecting. It's not about why I'm selecting, but it's because how to do that and exploring some of the features here. That, okay, from read you can select that, but you have to really do your work. If you have some kind of ticket to resolve, obviously then you have to come here and you will have a purpose there that, oh yeah, this guy should have this policy, but not this policy. So I'm not going to make sure which one is nearest to complete the objective to resolve the ticket, which combination of permissions are the nearest. So I'm going to collapse that as well. One selected, I just randomly selected the first one. Then tagging, so it's just create tags and delete tags. Oh, do you want that user to actually add some information to the virtual machine? Okay, so that user can actually create tags as well. Or suppose that information was wrong, so that user can actually delete the tags as well. So it's up to you what you're giving, what you're supposed to give, what you're not supposed to give. Did you really work hard on that? So then I'm going to collapse that too. And then the longest list of permissions comes, and that is right. Oh, okay, yeah. So that's where you can accept. There's an accept command here. There's an allocate command here. There's an apply command. There's an assign. There's associate. Then there is create set of commands, delete set of commands, modify. So import. That's a lot of tasks that you you can give to that user. Suppose that user is the desktop admin, desktop guy, and you let the user delete some of the DHCP options, delete some of the client VPN route, and whatever you're not supposed to give. This is the most sensitive area where you will be working, so you have to question mark. Actually, the thing is, if I were you, so I would just go check, okay, create, and oh, there's a create here. Okay, create what? So he should be creating a virtual machine. Okay, and what else? Modifying a virtual machine. Okay, where's that? And then restart, start, shut down virtual machine. Okay, change RAM, change CPU, change any resource. Okay, where's that? So, but don't delete anything. So I would not check anything here that lets the user delete anything, right? But if you click modify, some of the permissions in modify may or may not let your user actually delete as well. So this means that whenever you are done creating the combination of selecting the combination of policy permissions there, you would vigorously test that. Basically, you would attach that policy to a user, test user, then you will log in from the user. You will directly go to the delete process first. If the user cannot delete, okay, now I'm good. Oh, he or she cannot delete. Okay, but can he or she start, restart, shut down, and then check everything, right? So this means that whole weekend or couple of weekends are gone just testing the set of permissions you're about to give to a newly hired desktop support team member. So this is a set of the most dangerous set of permissions that you can give. But if you have an objective in front of you, it will be easier for you to check that which ones are actually good. So I'm just going to go for randomly selecting the first one here, and then go ahead. And then there are permissions management, which is create network interface permission, delete network interface permission. This means that that person whom you're giving these set of permissions here, that person can also provide or assign further someone else the permission to create network interface cards or delete network interface card or modify snapshots or VPC endpoint service permissions, or so whatever the tasks are given here. Do you want to want that person to be assigning someone else as well such permissions? So okay, I'm just selecting one from here, whether I have to select or not. So only you can see that if you have selected everything from the list, then only the main box will be checked. Otherwise, it will not be checked. So here, if one or two were selected, so it will look like this, right? So we explored that. Oh, there are access levels there, list, read, tagging, write, permissions. Okay, I get that. So that means I have to really work hard and then attach that policy to a new user, a test user, then test myself a lot, log in again, log out again, log in again, test whatever objectives were given to me, and then finally attach that user with that policy that I came up with. So that's what we're discovering. So I'm just going to close this on the left side, this one. This was just okay. Then resources. Select resources to restrict access. Oh, this policy you want to actually be even stricter than before. So I'm going to expand that resources here. And in the resources, what else you want that user to be restricted for? So go for, there's a specific written there, or maybe all resources are restricted for that user, or you still want to, if I click the specific here, so there is that capacity reservation, there's client VPN endpoint, there is dedicated host, DHCP options. So what are we talking about here? So capacity reservation, what is capacity reservation? So capacity reservation means that the user, what basically capacity reservation means is that you are reserving a specific amount of RAM, you're reserving a specific amount of processor, and specific amount of hard disk to a virtual machine, EC2 instance. So that is called capacity reservation. So which means that if that machine, EC2 instance, needs 32 GB RAM, it will get all the time, it will have 32 GB RAM. So AWS has to provide all the time 32 GB RAM. It should not be less than that. So this means you're reserving the RAM for that critical machine, reserving CPU, reserving any other hardware resources, right? So that is called reservation. So that's a very sensitive task. So you think that no, I don't want this user, this desktop support team member, to be doing capacity reservation. No, I don't want him or her to be reserving RAM for any machine, because that requires some approval from higher. So these are some of the specific areas, gateway related configurations. Wow, that should be level 3 administrator task, not a desktop support guy's task, right? Network ACL, no way. Reserved instances, no way. Security group, these are very sensitive tasks. Do you want to give, suppose it's a junior admin, suppose it's another admin, level 3 admin that got hired, you're the senior administrator, and you know that level 3 administrator, in the interview you have really asked about gateways, and you have really asked about all that. So you would want to give it or not. So these are very sensitive tasks. So either you can say that, hey, desktop support guys, no way. They should, if I go for all resources, that makes sense for our desktop support level 1 support guys, that they should not be connecting to sensitive resources. Or I go specific that, okay, this one they cannot mess with. So I'm going to select first one here just to show how to select and how does it look like. Otherwise, it's up to it's your decision that you want to select this or not, right? So we understand this scenario as well, that whoever you're creating a policy for, does he or she is he or she the level 3, level 4 administrator? If yes, then yeah, they would know all these. So then don't restrict. Whatever you select is restricted now for that user. That user cannot use the selected one now, right? So if I go down here further, then there is request conditions. Specify request conditions. That's to make the life of that user even more miserable. So MFA required, multi-factor authentication, and then source IP required. So which IP are you connecting from? So MFA, we're about to do that lab, multi-factor authentication, and then there is source IP. If I click the source IP, so suppose I want to give my public IP. So what is my IP? Or what is your IP? Let's just go to that. What is my IP? Enter. Let's quickly do that, then take a 5-minute break. Here, I'll just copy my public IP now, right? And I'm putting it here. So if you put that in a policy, so suppose this is a IP of your branch, Toronto branch here, right? So that user can connect to AWS only from this IP, from this, suppose this is IP of the Toronto branch. So that user, if that user is from home, working from home, he or she cannot connect to the AWS if this policy is attached to that user, because he or she is restricted to use, to work behind this IP only. Or you can add his or her home IP by asking him or her that, right? So otherwise, so this is a restriction you can put as well. That hey, you can connect only from this IP and no other IP. So just get the public IP of that resource. So I'm just gonna remove this now and uncheck this. But we understand that MFA required, multi-factor authentication, whoever this policy connects to, and source IP required. This is more restrictive now. So we understand that these are the set of policies that we can go for, right? So you select a service. When you create a custom policy, then you go for list, read, tagging, write, permissions. Then you go for what else is restricted for that user. And these are all sensitive areas actually for the resources. And then more restrictions that you can implement on that user to whom this custom policy will be attached to, right? So these are the set of permissions that we should know that in a custom policy, these are the things that you need to configure. So let's click the review policy now. Let's click the review policy now. And just give this policy a name, your first name, dash custom dash, custom dash policy. And Control A, Control C, and description, Control V. So just put it in the description as well. That's it. So you created a custom policy, and that's the name of the custom policy here. And that's it. Create policy, right? So your first name, custom policy, no spaces, and create policy, right? So click on create policy. A policy called already exists, seriously. Okay, I'll just put one here. I think I created that already. Create policy. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. So guys, let's take a 5 to 7 minute break and then come back. It's just 5 to 7 minute break, right? So let's take a 5 to 7 minute break. Muting now. And your first name, custom policy, Ichi. Ichi in Japanese means one, right? So that's cool, right? Oh, you're welcome. Okay, guys. So here, let's go ahead and let's go ahead. What? So what we did was we created a custom policy, right? So so we did use a ready-made policy here, but we also can create our custom policy. But about that, oh, hey, Wakas, you know Japanese? Are you kidding me? Ichi ni and san. Is it san? 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 Okay. 3. Yeah, but is it like said or pronounced as san or san? Or, okay. So pronunciation. So ichi ni san. And san. Oh, an or on. Okay. So, but thank you for that. Thank you for adding that third one. Ichi ni san. Oh, on. So, guys, here I'm gonna give you as I was saying, tickets. So I'll be updating that. I'll be putting that on WhatsApp group, class group as well. So ticket 1 and SLA is service level agreement. So this means when can you finish? Before the end of the AWS, right? Course. And then that is create a custom policy and attach it to a newly created user. The policy should allow user to create, and modify, start, restart, shut down an EC2 instance. Now after IAM is EC2 instance labs we're gonna go for, so you will be good with EC2 as well, but must not be able to delete the EC2 instance. So this is the purpose. And when you log in from that user and then you go to the EC2 instance and you create one, so you can create, that user should be able to create one and do everything but delete. But the user should not be able to delete, but should be able to do anything and everything else. So create step by step screenshots for, so that would be all step screenshots. And let's see who submits first and correct one. Previous courses also, many students submitted that, so it's your dedication, it's your benefit if you go for it, it's your loss if you don't. So create step-by-step screenshots for all the configurations, and put all steps with explanations to MS Word document, and email to admin at online ID school. Guys, the new name will be Cloud Engineers Academy real soon, so change that time, but right now. So this is guys, this has proven to be one of the most challenging. I don't know why I give the most challenging ticket. Yon go ruko. Hey, everyone knows Japanese here. Okay, yeah. So I was reading the text here, Osman. So yeah, ticket 1. So guys, I don't know why I give that tough one the first time, but so many dedicated students in all previous courses of AWS Azure have submitted that. Majority of them were able to do that within the first 2 weeks. Others took time, but they did not lose hope, or they did not back down, or they did not quit. They just kept on doing that, and then they found the result, and they were able to submit the ticket. So let's see. You guys are smart. In fact, really smart. How smart? We're gonna know that. So I'm just gonna put that in WhatsApp. It's in WhatsApp in class group now, and this assignment is in chat as well. Any questions about that? Let me know. But this is kind of a challenge that comes at the start. The rest of the assignments might not be that tough, but I don't know why. That's why I'm giving you much more time than the other ticket. So SLA is before the end of AWS. Before that, I'll be asking everyone, hey, who did this, who did not? So it's to your benefit, guys. You should be accepting all tough challenges there and work on it. YouTube it, Google it, come up with some policies. The policy that perfectly works like this. Not other than that, don't give any other permissions, right? Just the EC2 related permissions. Don't give any other, right? Okay, so let's get going, and I'm just gonna go ahead and come back to day 3. So what we can continue doing that now is, so we talked about policies, roles, users, groups. Then there's identity providers here, and identity provider again is a scenario where the users are actually not internal AWS users. The users are coming from Google Suite, G Suite, or the users are coming from Azure, or the users are coming from even LinkedIn or Facebook. So if we go to create provider here, so now I wish there are some people who have done that lab. I mean, on the internet, the labs are kind of overwhelming, but I will try to create that. First of all, let's understand what is this. So let's click the create provider, and what are the options there? So there's a choose a provider type, and that is SAML. So this means that you want to connect to an on-premises branch application, or you want to connect to an ADFS server, Active Directory Federation Services, in an on-premises branch that is connected to AWS. So that would be SAML protocol that will be used, or SAML is used between all other sites as well. Suppose if you want to connect it to G Suite, or so if I go for AWS Identity Providers Lab step by step, if you go for some cool search words, you get the exact things. So IAM tutorials, AWS. So AWS documentation starts here. AWS Identity and Access Management. So better get it from AWS directly. But there are so many people who have also gone for single sign-on, which just means that the sign-in or the credentials of the users should be the same. They should never change, and they should be able to connect to AWS as well. So if I create that diagram, then it would be that if you have on-premises, which just means that your company's own data center here, right? So on-prem, and then there is ADFS here, Active Directory Federation Services. So my recommendation is do that course of MCSA, and you would know ADFS as well. Did I share that for other class? Seriously? Okay. So ADFS, and then from there, I just created that diagram already, right? So so ADFS provides actually SSO. This is just one example. You can connect from Linux in the branch as well. SSO is single sign-on. Single sign-on. That what does single sign-on means? Anyone has an idea about what is single sign-on? Anyone has any idea about what is single sign-on? Yes, you're right. Exactly. Oh, okay. Nobody replied. Oh, yeah. Fahad replied. Sign in once and able to log in to all services. Exactly. So single sign-on would be that you have just one set of username and password, and that one username password connects you to one service, then second service, then third service, then fourth service, and you don't need 4 different username passwords here for each service, but one username password is enough to connect to all the services. So a good example would be your Google account that is connected to also Google Photos, it's connected to Google Sites, it is connected to Google Mail. So you have all the services there. That's the same thing for Outlook and Yahoo as well, that you're connected to multiple services with one set of credentials, username, password, right? So this means that if you want to connect, if these end users want to connect to AWS, so they will just use their username credentials, and they're already using the local file server, web server, print server, everything, and then they form the same credentials. They are able to connect to AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, Office 65. They're connected to everyone with this. So that's called then. So that's where you use SAML. OpenID Connect is mostly used between online services, but SAML is specifically more famously used for on-premises or your company's own data center to the cloud providers' data centers, right? So that's where the SAML would be used, which we just talked about. So identity provider is you want to connect to your AWS to any other online service or to a local branch. Then you go through the whole process of and the documentations. I'm just going to be adding those there for extra reading there, but that's the main process for SAML and OpenID Connect. Just gonna okay. So Fad says another example in production is you can log into your ServiceNow ticketing tool once you log into your company's network. Exactly. So ServiceNow, maybe you're using that or any other ticketing system. So if you are logging from that from your Windows credentials or Active Directory credentials, then this means it's also single sign-on. It's integrated exactly as you said. So I'll just put that here. So what I put here, AWS Identity and Management. So if I that's the documentation I was on right now, and it is the AWS documentation from the vendor. Is this section contains walkthroughs that present complete end-to-end procedures for common tasks that you can perform in IAM. They are intended for a lab type environment. So that's very good. So I'm just gonna put that tutorials here for. So they are actually showing all the other as well, but what I wanted you to go for is this identity provider. So if you go for identities here, so identities, users, and groups, but that's not again the identity provider. So it's talking about pretty much everything. So I'm just gonna put that in chat here as well. So and I'll put that in the document. So guys, I'll be putting that in WhatsApp. That in LMS, when I upload this document for you, and that is all the tutorials for all the vendor tutorials for AWS IAM, right? So it's from the vendor side. Although we have gone through that, but you can actually explore some more options there and follow the vendor as well, just to gain some more confidence on the technology, right? So I'll just go back here and try to, yeah. So what I was trying to actually go for was they're just giving overall lab setup connector F5 cloud docs. Now this is F5 is a load balancer. If you have a self-directed journey to AWS Identity Federation Mastery. Whew. These are all very complicated scenarios actually. Okay, I wanted to give you a simple one, but own SAML adventure or self-directed journey to AWS. Wow. Okay. Whoa. Okay. Seriously, that's another good read, but and that this used to be 2 years ago. AWS used to look like. So let me just check the document. They didn't give a date, but that could give you some idea about SAML being used to connect AWS to your company's data center. That would be another read, but better go for latest documentation instead of this is wow, somebody really worked hard. But you can see how overwhelming, how many hundreds of steps there can be to connect your local. This is your local Active Directory now, right? So they're connecting that to. Okay. Anyway, I'm just gonna put that link here. SAML protocol lab where on premises AD on-prem Active Directory is connected to AWS. Well, I guess they use ADFS, so you have to install ADFS as well, or at least check out the steps of this lab, because that is something that is doable in the company environment, company test environment. But here, well, at least have a good read on that. So I'm just going to go back here, and we can just check. If I click the SAML here, then it's just asking that metadata document. So that document would have encrypted information about your company and the connector, and you have to upload that file from ADFS to here, and then it will go for next steps to connect and verify that the company's connection information would be placed here. So that would be all placed in. If I was to do that, I would definitely talk to the AWS support if the company has purchased an AWS support document there. Okay, so Usman is saying, can you paste the last link in WhatsApp? Yeah, sure. So it's lab guide here and in WhatsApp. Yeah. All right, guys. And that is in WhatsApp when I type it. So I'll just give a reference of the lab for SAML, where on-prem to cloud AWS connection steps are mentioned. Okay, so it's on WhatsApp in this group, so that's a good thing because that would be a good resource. Okay, guys, so I'm just going to cancel out from here. So I'll just click cancel. But we understand that you can connect with identity providers to to your local branch, and this would be a good read. But also AWS identity providers, if I just put some more, start free trial again, seriously, yeah, the Federation services. So yeah, but if you go for that, yeah, you will find a lot of documentation there for identity providers. If I find some more that is doable in our lab, then I can send you, or I'll try. Hopefully I have time. I still have some very big pending labs there. Okay, but guys, here identity providers, we understand that you can connect to your branch, local branch, but it's and you have some lab steps showing there that how overwhelming that could be, how many steps are involved, and what are the stages involved, and what are the recommendations there, right? How secure is it? So Vikas says, is this in this course we are going to integrate AWS and AAD, Azure AD? No, we have AWS. Inside the AWS, we have Active Directory service according to the exam objectives. Migration from AWS to AD is not part of the exam objectives of AWS Solutions Architect, but it's on premises only. So, but that would be a good adventure, because then this means that you're saying how to migrate a VM from. So how to migrate a VM or replicate data VM from AWS to Azure. Suppose we go for that, migrate a VM. So migrate AWS VMs to Azure with Azure Site Recovery. So Azure side, they have this, and if you go for the other side, how to migrate a VM from Azure to AWS. So AWS, because we're talking about AWS right now, so I would write this Azure to AWS. So migrate an Azure VM to AWS Cloud. They also have that Amazon Web Services, and this is 2019 article. So announcing Azure to AWS migration support in AWS server. Okay, so they have that. So when we are in AWS EC2 instances, then I will try to come up with that lab. If it's not overwhelming, yes, sure. So I will try that. It's server. It requires server migration services. Okay, but then we need to know Azure as well. So please do remind me at the end of Azure that we need to do that. So we need to understand Azure then fully. to migrate away a virtual machine from there to here or from here to there, right? We need to understand both to do that. So I'll just put that as, that's a wild one. I'll put that as a reminder here that migrate a VM or data across AWS, Azure, anyway, right? In any ways. So I'll just put it here, so in every class you will see this reminder there. Okay. Okay, guys. Here, let's go ahead. But yeah, this is this is interesting. This some of my friends were doing these stunts in the production environments. Not exactly these, but somewhat like these. Multiple clouds and multiple virtual solutions. Hyper-V to VMware, VMware to Hyper-V. So okay, anyway, so we have then identity providers, then there are account settings here. And in the account settings, you can see that there's a change password policy here, or delete password policy. So that would be obviously your password policy here. And once we click that, let's click that change password policy. And you can see that some of the password policies that we are already following: enforce minimum password length 6 characters, require at least one uppercase letter, one lowercase, one number, at least one alphanumeric. Enable password expiration. Password expiration requires administrator reset, allow users to change their own password, and prevent password reuse. So if I go for enable password expiration, then it asks that expire passwords in 90 days. I'm just going to uncheck that, but this is a setting here. Password expiration requires administrator reset, allow users to change their own password, prevent password reuse. So remember 5 passwords. This means that last 5 passwords you cannot use, right? So this is something that you should put there. Otherwise, users will keep on putting the easy password again and again because this is one of the more critical password policies there, right? Oh, okay. So here, so these are the password policy. We get the idea. Now, like there's nothing technical about it, right? So just make sure that the password policy is here, and that if you are given AWS, if you're made an AWS resource in the company, you're responsible for that. So this is one of the first areas that you should be coming to and checking the password policies for the user and try to make their life as miserable as possible. No, in the name of security. Whenever they say, hey, what are you doing? Then you say, oh, we can get hacked or data could be leaked. And then you can even shut your boss as well when you scare them to death about hacking and everything. So they're all just then following. They don't really protest anymore when you just scare them that, oh, it will be hacked. Oh. Okay, anyway. So I'm just going to click cancel here. But yes, you have to visit there. These are very important policies there that are actually unchecked right now. But it's there, and that you have to visit it when you are the resource there. You're responsible for. So always go for tough password policies there, no matter how the end users protest. So I'm just going to go for cancel here because it's a training environment. Let's not put for ourselves tough passwords. But yeah, we should actually practice that. Then they're talking about security token service. AWS recommends using regional security token service endpoints to reduce latency. Session tokens from regional STS endpoints are valid in all AWS regions. If you use regional STS endpoints, no action is required. Session tokens from the global STS endpoint are valid only in AWS regions that are enabled by default. So in English, what they're saying that when you are connected to AWS, so your security token or what you're allowed, how long are you allowed with that one security session to connect to AWS, you can use that. That information should be stored in your local region. So this is already being implemented there. So not much that you can change other than you want to use global endpoints or you want to use regional endpoints there. There is that it says here session tokens from the global security tokens session endpoint are only valid in AWS regions that are enabled by default. If you intend to enable a new region for your account, you can use session tokens from regional STS. In English, what they are saying is that if you keep connected to AWS and that session is securely connecting you there. So the information about that session should be stored globally in some central server, or you can store that information in your region. Suppose you're connected to East Europe, right? So that user, suppose you're connected to any of those, Asia Pacific here, AP Northeast, which is Seoul or Singapore or Sydney or Tokyo. So you can use local regional servers to save your already securely connected session information. So you're connected to AWS, that's a session, right? And it is securely connected, right? So that information can be stored either on the central server, or that information can be stored locally as well. Local storage just means that it can be retrieved fast if you got disconnected and you want to reconnect securely again. It takes milliseconds or seconds, even with the centrally stored. But if you're an advanced security expert, then you would weigh those. Otherwise, default configurations are already okay there. And then there are you can enable additional endpoints from which you can request temporary credentials. Suppose you want to have some nearby data centers. You're in Tokyo. You want nearby data centers to secure your temporary credentials. You created a user, and that user information is actually in North Virginia, while your users are in Tokyo. So that's a kind of a distance there. So how about you put that temporary information when the user next log in, the user will be able to change the password, but that information can be stored either away centrally wherever you first started the subscription, or it could be created and stored nearby data centers. So the service will still take seconds there in North Virginia and milliseconds here with nearby data centers. But if suppose there are thousands of users, then it really matters that where is the temporary password going to store? Nearby your Tokyo data center, AWS data center, or locally or globally, or to the North Virginia region. By default, the settings are okay. Again, if you are an advanced user and the performance really is an issue because of thousands of users connected there, then you come down to these areas. So then you can, so they are all active right now. If your users are connecting from Frankfurt data centers, their credential information will be stored in the AWS Frankfurt data centers, right, in that region. So which is okay already. So these are just some of the default configurations of password. Where do you want to save that when you're securely connected, where that information is saved? So near to your data centers where you are, or to the wherever the subscription company headquarters are. So account settings is just that, it's straightforward, but you do visit that when you are taking charge of AWS everything in your company, right? Then we go down to access reports here, and there's access analyzer. So if I click that access analyzer here, go ahead and let's click that. So this is analyzing. If you play with the words, you can understand right away that access analyzer, what can it analyze? Access, right? So how many users were connected, from where they were connected, and what were their access level, which resource they were connected to. Or was a user not able to connect, and he or she actually had 6 or 7 failed password attempts. So if you have 5 or 6 failed password attempts in banks normally, or big companies, the security team gets into action, and they go after you and ask you, hey, did you try 6 times to connect to our resource here? And or was it a hacking attempt? So first of all, suppose you say that, yeah, it was me and I was guessing the password. So it would be again against your reputation then, that you forgot your own password in a big company on a critical resource. So if there's a failed attempts there, so it could be a hacker attempt. So they take it really seriously if somebody forgot the password and guessed it 6 or 7 times, or 5 or 6 times, right? Anyway, so access analyzer is just supposed to create a report there for who accessed at what time. If I click the archived here, nothing, resolved, nothing, all. So and then there's zone trust here also, and that is just our for our zone right now. So the thing is that if you go for archive rules, so there is an archive rule, and let's just explore that. So first of all, access analyzer has nothing to show because we just logged in, we just started this. In fact, for me, it should have been having something. So anyway, archive rules, when you go there, let's go inside the rule, or we can create an archive rule here as well. So if we go inside there, so it has all the information about rule is what is the source IP, tell me, and that is 184. Suppose you want to add that rule, that how many people connected from this IP at what time. This is not and everyone is seeing this IP, like an IP, some IP there, or is it just me seeing an IP here? So those who are actually clicking here, if you can confirm that you also see an IP. This is a sample IP. It's not actually. Oh, you don't see that. Okay. So source IP equals this, but if I click add here, so it will be not only this, then oh, this is my actually previous IP then. Remove this criterion. Okay, I'll remove that. But this just means that you can create a archive rule which talks about if that rule is matched, give me a report about that. So rule is if somebody connects to this IP. So I'm just gonna go again this, and suppose that's the easiest example to understand, that if anyone connects to this from this IP, or and I also went for my IP, right? So what is my IP? I can just put that. Suppose it's my branch IP right now. So I can put that public IP here, and then save changes. This means that give me a report about who accessed from this IP for how long, right? But my public IP actually changes, I think, every 3 days. So that's why there was an old IP mentioned there. So that's why there was no report there. So Snark says there, I don't see anything on analyzer or archive rules. Yeah, because but if you don't see, then do you see the add button here? So go ahead and click the add. Osman says, I think we need to create analyzer to see archive rule, and yeah, we have to create that. And Snark says, do we all have to create analyzer first? Yeah. Shiva says yes. What? Please check what's that. Oh, this. We need to create analyzer. I'm seeing this screen which is saying create analyzer. Oh, this means so I'm just gonna drag the screen now, and there is that create analyzer. This means so in previous thank you, Wakas, for sharing that. So in previous classes I did create that already. That's why I was not seeing this. So yes, you have to create analyzer. That's why I was thinking why nobody's answering, because you were seeing another window, I was seeing another window. All right, thank you for resolving this. So I had already selected created that. That's why I was not seeing what you're seeing. So and yeah, so okay, I'm just gonna cancel out, and I'll just select that and delete this rule, and I'll put the delete, because I'll go to that screen where you are, right? And if I go to create analyzer now, okay, how can I delete this? Oh, I can't. Archive rule. Okay, guys, go ahead and create the analyzer, but then I need to delete everything else. Oh, there's a console analyzer here as well. I have created a lot other things. Let me just quickly delete that. But yes, we have to create it. Oh, there you go. Now I'm good. So this is what we are seeing here. Monitor access to resources. So monitor access to resources, and then there is create an analyzer, review active findings, take action. So create analyzer, you can set the scope for the analyzer to an organization or an AWS account. This is your zone of trust. The analyzer scans all of the supported resources within your zone of trust. So whatever area you've configured here, that is your zone of trust, or whatever you define there. Review active findings. When Access Analyzer finds a policy that allows access to a resource from outside of your zone of trust, it generates an active finding, which means that whatever your zone of trust is, it could be several regions here, with all the resources inside, and whoever connects from outside to your zone of trust or to your regions, so it will consider it as active findings, and it generates an active finding. Findings include details about the access so that you can take action. So somebody accessed from outside to your region, that can take so it can just tell you that okay, somebody accessed. If the access is intended, you can archive the findings so that you can focus on reviewing active findings. If the access is not intended, which could be hacker as well, you can resolve the finding by modifying the policy to remove access to the resource. So you can also, somebody accessed your virtual machine and it was intended, so you're going to ignore that, it's okay. But if it was not intended and somebody accessed your virtual machine and you didn't know that that guy was supposed to access, so then you can remove access to that for that guy as well. So monitor access to resources, that's what the purpose is. Let's click that create analyzer now, and once we click that create analyzer, so region is North Virginia. So guys, everyone sees that same region? Anyone sees Ohio here? Or anyone seeing anything else than North Virginia? No one, right? So this means same. Okay, cool. So anyone seeing other than that, you can just go up there and change it back to North Virginia. For the whole course, make sure it always only show North Virginia. Oh, you see Ohio. Okay, smart. So just go ahead and just do the change from here and see if it still stays here or it asks you to start again. So go ahead and change to the North Virginia here. Make sure for every service it is only North Virginia, right? Okay, so okay, so here name console analyzer and zone of trust. Current account is zone of trust. So policies for all supported resources within your zone of trust are analyzed to identify access allowed from outside of the zone of trust. So again, zone of trust, I'm just going to click that info here. So if it says here the zone of trust for the analyzer determines the set of resources that are analyzed. You have created virtual machine, you have created virtual private cloud, you have created databases there, you have created machine learning, you have created Lambda. So whatever you have been working on in whichever region, that is your zone of trust. So access to resources from within the zone of trust is trusted. For example, if you choose an organization, access to any resources within the organization is considered trusted for any principal within the same organization. You can create only one analyzer with account as the zone of trust. So anyway, it's just saying that whatever you're using within the regions, that is your zone of trust. So that's just the name here, and there's a tag here. You want to create a tag, it's up to you. Department is this, or manager is this, or zone of trust is whatever I'm using there. So when you enable access analyzer, a service linked role is created. So you can see that a role in the background is being created. We just talked about the role in the class. So in the background, a role is created in the current account. The service linked role grants permission to access analyzer to interact with AWS resources on your behalf. So if the access analyzer wants to report to you, hey, somebody accessed your EC2 instances service, so it would need a role in the background that gives it access to read access at least to the virtual machines that somebody actually accessed from outside of the zone of trust. So it will create a role automatically that will give it access to other AWS resources. So we don't have to create that role ourselves. So, but you can see that the role is being used when one service of AWS is trying to access another set of services on AWS, right? So then a role is being created. So I'm just going to click Create Analyzer now. And creating Analyzer. And is it ting for everyone, or is it tid already? It's still ting for me. Oh, so it's still ting. Okay. So in process. So for Usman and Snarg it is ting. For me it is tid. Okay, so in process. Okay, so it's oh, for father's ting. Okay, still ting, still ting. Okay, so it's Ted for me, and complete. All right. Well, one more thing, snark, SNARG. So can you put your real name there? I don't know who am I talking to. So all others have their real name, right? Snark. So you can also put your real name. I would just want to know who am I talking to. So Wakas says Ting or Tid. Mine is Tid. Yeah. So create Tid. Okay, Azaldine is Ted. So anyway, so we're all Ted-ed, right? So here, now what we need to do is, for if there is an outsider connected to our resources, then it will give you an alert, red alert, like whoop whoop, red alert, whoop whoop. It's like that, right? Oh, well, I just made it up. So, but if we go to archive rules here, so archive rules, there is nothing created there, but what we can create here, again, if I go to info here, archive rules and info, so it says archive rules automatically archive findings that meet the criteria you define for the rule. For example, if you allow access to an S3 bucket, which is just a folder where you can upload files and folders, to other AWS accounts. Again, you can see here, if you allow access to your S3 bucket, which is just a folder, to other AWS accounts. So it's again talking about outsiders, right? As part of our defined workflow, a finding is generated. This is because the bucket policy allows access to accounts that aren't within your zone. So remember that we created your first name 01, your first name 02, right? So your first name 02 or first name 01 is connecting to, they are creating a EC2 service, right? EC2 instance, right? So that is within your zone of trust. So archive rules will not find that as, something to report, but somebody from outside is trying to connect, having permissions, archive will rules will then try to raise, and at least it will show its finding here, right? So yeah, so it says that in this case you intended to grant the access and you know the accounts are trusted, so you can create an archive rule that automatically archives all findings for that bucket. So suppose your internal user connected to this bucket or folder, that will be in the archive rule as a report that this user connected, but basically it is for those who are connecting from outside the AWS accounts, other AWS accounts that you're creating and then giving access, and then actually they do access. So let's just create archive rule now, and once we click the create archive rule, so then you can create a rule. And what is the rule about? So if you click that above the add in the criteria, then you can see that, hey, what kind of activity you want to generate a report about. Is it about, we can see all kinds of Facebook app ID, Amazon app ID, Lambda event source, source VPC, source IP, and then there are many other AWS accounts, maybe some other AWS account. If somebody accesses from that AWS account, please create a access report there for me. So, or if there's a resource that was accessed. So if we go for that easy one, that is source IP here, that, and then you can just put, I think I have my public IP here. So this means that if anyone accesses from this public IP, then create a report. That's what I'm saying right now, right? Or then you can just check for, suppose it's an AWS account. Suppose I select that AWS account here. So then you have to define the AWS account information here, which is normally the ARN address, or source ARN. You can just, or source account here, or federated user that is connecting. So if I click the resource here, then also what kind of resource is there? Is it an EC2 instance, or is it from anything else? So I'm going to click source IP here. I'm going to put my public IP here, which is going to be changed soon. So I'm just going to click that create archive rule. But we can create add, okay, also from AWS account, okay, also from a resource, create a report for all those. So I'm going to click that create archive rule, and that the rule is that source IP equals this. If anyone accesses from that, there should be a report then, right? And then if I go to analyzers under the archive rules here, so there's a console analyzer already active here. But let's explore that too. And there's a create analyzer here. So let's click that create analyzer. So it also, you already created an analyzer for the current account. Okay, so this is an analyzer for the current account actually. So it's already created. So for the current account, when it logs in, I'm going to cancel out from here. When it logs in, so analyzer is seeing that, hey, this is our trusted guy, right? And there's a settings here, and the setting, you must sign in using the AWS organization's master account credentials to change the access analyzer organization administrator account. Okay, that's where comes what is AWS organization. So we're gonna start resume from here in next class on Friday, and then we're gonna check that what is AWS organizations and how does it work. But it pretty much is about if you have created another AWS subscription with a separate credit card and separate email. So Mohammad Awaz is asking that in chat where these reports store, and the reports are, oh, there's a question, how about user ID? Okay, so reports are stored basically in the storage account. They are not creating a storage account. This means that this access analyzer is just storing here, but in the background they're not actually creating those separate storage accounts, and they're not charging us for that. So this means it comes with the package wherever they're stored in the background. They'll just simply show it here. And Vikas says, and how about user ID? So if I create another subscription which required different email and could be same credit card, yes, well, they keep on changing the rules. So, but yes, I have created so many subscriptions, and I didn't have to change a credit card. But well, that was like 1 year, I think 8 months ago I created that. So I don't know about the new rules, but yes, you have to change the email address. Credit card, I think it should be the same. They will not worry about the credit card, but the email has to be different. That's the only thing that has to be different. My address is same, my credit card is same, and it worked. So guys, recommendation is that please create another AWS account. You can even delete that account right after this lab, but before the next class, create another AWS account with a separate email address, and you can use the same credit card number as well. So what I can put on WhatsApp here is before next class, please create another free tier AWS account with a separate email address. So I put it in WhatsApp right now, and I'll put it, well, I'm going to be uploading this document in LMS, and I'm going to, hopefully everyone has access to the LMS. If not, then I'll be giving you, so for next class, please create another free tier AWS account with a separate email address. So, alright guys, this is it. We're going to meet on Friday, and we're going to continue, right? So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Ali is asking what is the reason. Reason is that we're going to explore what is AWS organization. There's a feature called AWS organization, and it can manage your different AWS company accounts. So in companies, you will always have more than one AWS account. So how do you manage them under one umbrella? So we're going to check that out.
When we can find this video?
Oh yeah, so it takes 1.5 hours to render, to convert it to MP4. So by tonight or tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so there are questions there. Mohammed Jafri is asking, I don't have access to LMS course. Okay, so guys, please make sure that you create an account in this LMS, and I will then enroll you. So on WhatsApp, you can just tell me what is your name there, and I will just enroll you manually myself, right? So if you haven't created that account here, so this is the URL. Please go to that URL that I put it in chat, and I put it in WhatsApp as well. Please create an account here, and then on WhatsApp, let me know what is your name there, right? So yeah, do you provide exam?
Sorry, Amir.
Yes, I do provide exam questions. Yes, Ali?
Can we keep the same account? There's no charge, right? If we keep the same account?
Keep the same account? Yeah, you can keep the same account. I'm just asking to create a new account, and there is no charge for the new account as well.
Okay, yeah.
So both accounts we're going to use together.
The only difference is the email address, right? Okay, sure.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And yes, so I'm going to be providing exam questions as well. If we enroll to, yes, I'll be providing the latest exam questions for all 4 exams. Okay, Zaid Jafri says my account name is Mohammed Jafri in LMS. Okay, so guys, those who are done, yes, it's bye-bye. For those whose accounts are not created, please stay here. I'll just do that now. So you could just make sure. So Mohammed Jafri. Yeah, this is Mohammed Jafri here.
By the way, I can log into LMS, but I cannot see the course.
Oh,
My
then
account.
please stay here. I'm just assigning now permissions.
Oh, sure.
And yeah.
I just need to ask, like, Amazon charged me 1.21 on Friday when I made the account. So, like, would they charge me more in future for the same
that is
account?
not actually charged. They are just testing, is that a legit bank account? They do that from time to time for certain users. So they just want to trust. They actually will transfer $1 to your account to check if that account, they can communicate to your account or not. So that's
All right.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, so Ali, please enroll me as well. Okay, AWS, AWS. Those who are not enrolled, please stay here so I can enroll you now, and you could see. So AWS and comments. Okay, enrolled. And then I'm going for. So I'm just gonna stop the video here.